Aunt! Yang Hao couldn't help but become curious when he saw the Holy Lord finally arriving. He naturally knew that the Holy Lord was preparing treasures for himself, otherwise he wouldn't have wasted these few days. Take it! The Holy Master looked at Yang Hao with a smile, waved his jade hand, and a white shadow fell into Yang Hao's hand. This is... Yang Hao's eyes widened and he looked at the white shadow in his hand. It was a round spherical treasure. Although it seemed ordinary, Yang Hao could feel terrifying spiritual energy fluctuations when he touched it. The most important thing, this sphere felt vaguely familiar and familiar to him. It seems that he is extremely close to himself. Right. This is your Yeoguangxian peak. Just add your breath to recognize the Lord. Hearing the words of the Holy Lord, Yang Hao suddenly realized. He thought he had guessed wrong just now, but he did not expect that this spherical treasure was actually his own Yaoguang Immortal Peak. How did my Yaoguang Immortal Peak become like this? Yang Hao looked at his hands and felt like crying. No wonder it's small. He was taken directly to the Dengxian Pavilion and allowed him to practice peacefully here in the past few days. Together with his aunt, he went to refine his Shaking Light Immortal Peak into a rare treasure. Did you read the information about the ancient battlefield given to you? The ancient battlefield is an ancient place from the ancient era that has not been erased even through the Dark Ages. However, the spiritual energy in it is much thinner than that in the outside world. Compared with the Holy Land of Eternal Life, it is even more different. Of course, with your foundation, Hao, you should be able to keep up even if your spiritual energy is thin. But in ancient battlefields, natural disasters and catastrophes often occurred. Once a natural disaster occurs, all spiritual energy will be drained. By then, if there are no fairy stones and other items as reserves, the evil spirit of the ancient battlefield will continue to corrode your body, and the consequences will be disastrous. Hearing the words of the Holy Lord, Yang Hao was slightly solemn. He has been busy practicing these days. Although he has read the jade slips that the Holy Lord gave him that recorded ancient information, but now he heard that saints like the Holy Lord treat them with caution, so he knowing that the ancient battlefield was much more dangerous than he imagined. I planted the world's ancient tree on Yeoguangxian Peak, and the spiritual energy was liquefied, and it has become a treasure. However, since you are going to the ancient battlefield, no one in this Yaoguang Immortal Peak is qualified to enter the practice, so I will simply help you refine it and bring the Yaoguang Immortal Peak with you, which can save you a lot of trouble in the ancient battlefield. Besides, taking your own cave with you will make you feel better when you go out to fight and practice. Hearing the rare joke made by the Holy Master, Yang Hao quickly smiled and nodded. Thank you, Auntie, for your thoughtful consideration. He really didn't expect that the Holy Lord could be so fully prepared to take Dongfu to the ancient battlefield. It's quite interesting to think about it. Auntie, now I am ready to go to the ancient battlefield. Yang Hao breathed into the Shaking Light Immortal Peak, and then directly took the rare treasure that had turned into a ball into his body. He already felt that time was running out. Whether it was to suppress the Holy Maiden of Yulan or to find the opportunity for the Eternal Emperor, he must enter the ancient battlefield as soon as possible. Don't worry, I'll take you there myself later. There is one more thing I need to tell you. When the Holy Master saw Yang Hao's appearance, he immediately said, because Tianquan was promoted to great power, the original position of Tianquan's chief Holy Son has become vacant. The opinion of all the senior officials in the Holy Land is to make you the new Chief Holy Son. Yang Hao was stunned when he heard this. Chief Holy Son? He naturally knew that the original Tianquan was the Chief Holy Son of the Holy Land. If you want to become the Chief Holy Son, you must have the strongest strength of your generation. The former Yaoguang Holy Son never imagined, however, he had not laid the foundation before, nor had he considered it. He did not expect that now that he did not have to fight, he would inexplicably become the chief saint of the Holy Land. I see. Yang Hao nodded and said, thinking about it carefully, it's actually not surprising. He now knows why Yu Heng provoked him. Now that Yu Heng is dead, only Tian Shu has the strength to compete with him. But that day, he directly surrendered because of Yu Heng. With the death of a saint in the Holy Land, Tian Shu probably wouldn't even dare to think about competing. As for the other saints and saints, it is even less possible for them to compete with him for the position of the saint. In this case, for the position of the chief saint, who else can he do? Whose is it? He was waiting for the next step of the Holy Lord. If it was just this matter, the Holy Lord would not deliberately tell him. There must be another step. It was originally scheduled to hold the chief holy ceremony for you in half a month. At that time, as the chief, you will inherit 3 chief privileges. First, every year the Holy Land will provide you with a supreme killing formation map. Second, you can choose a powerful protector to protect you. Third, after becoming the chief, you will automatically join the chief alliance formed by the Holy Land and other holy lands. The first privilege is not important, the other 2 are of great benefit to you. Especially the chief meeting, which is a covenant formed by the major holy places after the Dark Ages. The most evil geniuses of each generation in each major holy place will share the top resources of each major holy place. Although the Holy Land of Eternal Life is powerful enough, other holy lands also have some good things, which are even more important to you. However, I guess you won't stay for another half-month. So my aunt pushed it back for you. The chief holy book is very important. At that time, the major holy places will not only give you treasures, but the holy places will also trigger the secrets for you to choose. If you are lucky, you might be able to get the inheritance from the Great Emperor again. You need to know that our eternal Holy Land has 1 sect and 5 emperors, and the inheritance of the Great Emperor hidden in the Holy Land is definitely more than 1. Hearing the words of the Holy Lord, Yang Hao's eyes lit up. He didn't expect that becoming the chief son of the Holy Sun would actually have such benefits. No wonder Yu Heng even plots against himself, a princely class. Good. I see. I'll go back quickly. Hearing Yang Hao's decisive answer, the Holy Master helplessly scolded. Read the information I gave you carefully. Entering the ancient battlefield, it takes 3 years to get out. If you can get out in a short time, I won't need to help you refine the Shaking Light Immortal Peak. Yang Hao immediately smiled when he heard this and said immediately. It doesn't matter, Hao understands. All right. You come with me, and I will send you to the ancient battlefield. Seeing Yang Hao's appearance, the Holy Lord said to Yang Hao. After hearing the words, Yang Hao immediately followed the Holy Lord. Just like before when he went to Wanlong Dojo, a mysterious flying boat appeared in front of Yang Hao. The 2 of them went forward one after another. Finally, he stepped into the flying boat. The next moment, the Holy Lord waved his hand, and this magical flying boat directly cut through the sky and disappeared at the end of the sky at a very fast speed. The ancient battlefield is a half-space, and its connection with Ziwei Star is quite close. The ancient battlefield closest to the Holy Land is not far away. However, the ancient battlefield is extremely vast, and every entrance into it is extremely far away. I will send you to the entrance of the ancient battlefield near Yin-Yang Holy Land. On the flying boat, the Holy Lord said to Yang Hao. Hearing this, Yang Hao smiled and said, Auntie is interested. At this moment, he also began to study the information about the ancient battlefield seriously. The more he studied, the more Yang Hao discovered that this ancient battlefield was not simple. The ancient battlefield, born in the ancient era before the Dark Ages, is hidden in the space rift of the Ziwei Star. Because in the ancient battlefield, there are many powerful ancient creatures that existed only in ancient times, attracting many princes, kings, and even powerful people to come and contemplate. For practitioners at these levels, the ancient battlefield is both a dangerous place and a place of opportunity. In the ancient battlefield, too many practitioners got the opportunity, and the legend of rising against the sky spreads. Similarly, too many practitioners have fallen among them and turned into wandering souls on the battlefield, including many saints and saints from major holy places. Although it is hidden in the cracks in space, the ancient battlefield is actually extremely vast. According to the classification in the data, the ancient battlefield was divided into 9 major areas. Judging from the spaces discovered so far, no matter which space on Ziwei Star you enter the ancient battlefield, you will enter the first 3 domains. In the ancient battlefield, natural disasters and catastrophes occurred frequently, and there were too many weird and strange things circulating, which were extremely dangerous. The deeper you go, the more weird and terrifying you get. Therefore, the prince level is only recommended to go to the first 3 realms. The king level can practice in the first 6 realms, and only the powerful level can move around the entire ancient battlefield at will. The more Yang Hao read, the more interesting he found it. The information given to him by the Holy Lord recorded various anecdotes and legends about ancient battlefields. Arrive. While Yang Hao was watching with great interest, the voice of the Holy Lord suddenly came to Yang Hao's ears. Yang Hao's spirit was lifted. As the Holy Lord walked out of the flying boat. In front of him was a dark mountain range, and spatial fluctuations could be faintly seen in the distance. Yang Hao knew very well that there must be the entrance to the ancient battlefield. Saintess Yulan? I'm here to hunt you. Yang Hao directly flew into the air and flew towards the entrance. After entering the shuttle space entrance, Yang Hao flew into the ancient battlefield without any hesitation. Experiencing ripples in space, Yang Hao felt his body heavy, and light came in front of his eyes. Is this the ancient battlefield? According to the information I read before, if you enter the battlefield entrance near Yinyang Holy Land, you will most likely appear in the first domain. The spiritual energy here is indeed countless times thinner than in Ziwei Star. Yang Hao looked at the desolate world in front of him. At this moment, there was black earth and dusk in all directions, and huge shadows could be vaguely seen in the distance. What? Yang Hao felt most directly was the spiritual energy permeating this world, at least 3 times less than on Ziwei Star. As for the starting point compared with the Holy Land of Eternal Life, it is at least 5 times worse. But these are within Yang Hao's expectations. Plus he brought the Yaoguang Immortal Peak where he planted the world's ancient trees, and didn't particularly care about the aura problem. After careful observation, he was surprised to find that there was a strange space mark in his body at this moment. This space mark should be the space ripples that appeared when entering the ancient battlefield. As long as this space mark is in my body, I will not be able to enter the space channel just now. Yang Hao looked back at the space ripples he entered, and found that if he came close to the space mark in his body, he would be repelled, and then cut off from the space ripples. After thinking about it carefully, Yang Hao understood that this space mark should come from entering time. He could sense that the spatial mark did not appear permanently in his body, but gradually became fainter over time and eventually disappeared. It will take 3 years for this spatial imprint to completely disappear. No wonder it takes at least 3 years to enter the ancient battlefield. After Yang Hao sensed it, he looked at Wiyat Tower in his body again. After Wiyat Tower entered the ancient battlefield, a light inside kept flashing. That direction? I don't know which domain the Immortal Emperor will leave his mark on. The light flashing in the Wiyat Tower is naturally the opportunity left to him by the Yongxing Emperor. The light flickers on one side and jumps in one direction on the other. With Yang Hao's wisdom, he naturally understands what this means in an instant. This light was guiding him. He immediately soared into the sky in the direction that was guiding him without hesitation, turning into a meteor. Flying quickly, Yang Hao finally saw the peculiarities of the ancient battlefield, and encountered several twists and turns. Danger is everywhere. Skyfire, black wind, turbulent storm. This is just the first area. If natural disasters and earthly catastrophes are launched at the same time, even I will need to temporarily avoid the edge. However, risks and opportunities coexist. For ordinary princes, these are already valuable assets that can be visualized and mapped. Unfortunately for me, it has no effect. When Yang Hao was flying, in the first domain that was always filled with dusk scenery, many terrifying storms that were quite dangerous for princes appeared, but they were unable to do anything to him. His strength had already surpassed Prince, reached an incredible point. Boom! Yang Hao slashed out with one finger and blocked one end in front of him. The huge 8-eyed bull-headed beast that attacked him without any explanation was killed by him and fell to the ground with a dull sound. He flew away again with the light sensor. In the first area of the ancient battlefield, in addition to many dangerous phenomena, The most common ones are these ancient beasts that only existed in the ancient era. These ferocious beasts have disappeared from Ziwei Star, but they are everywhere in the ancient battlefield. Likewise, it is also an excellent material for visualizing mapping and condensing the runes of all things. Yan Hao just took a curious look at the eight-eyed bull's body, and then flew away again. For him who possesses a large number of ancient runes, these strange phenomena and ancient beasts in the first area of the ancient battlefield does not have much appeal to him. If it were not for the opportunity to obtain the Eternal Emperor and kill the Yulan Saint, this is an ancient battlefield that is a treasure for many princes and kings, he would not even bother come. Earn 400,000 points for killing the 9 Shadow Demonic Tiger. Earn 100,000 points for speed flight. Get 100,000 points for reaching the realm. Yan Hao followed the bright guidance in Weia Tower and flew for a day, killing many ancient ferocious beasts that blocked the road, traveling across millions of miles. During this period, he could occasionally see some princes fighting, but he didn't pay attention. Instead, he immersed himself in the journey and finally arrived at a very unique place. In front of Yang Hao's eyes, the end of the sky is a pure white horizon. Boundary Realm. The reason why the ancient battlefield was divided into 9 realms is because there is such a realm between each major realm. In the middle of the realm, there is a space passage that can lead to other large realms. I don't know which realm this realm leads to. Yan Hao was thinking while flying to the critical realm. As far as he knew, the first realm was connected to the second, third, and fourth realms at the same time. There was not much difference in the first 3 realms. They were all rampant with ancient ferocious beasts and strange phenomena. The fourth realm, the domain, is even more dangerous, and the princely class is in a narrow escape. It seems that this is the boundary of the fourth domain. As soon as he arrived at the realm, Yan Hao saw numerous figures outside the space passage of the realm. There were about a few figures staying. Thinking of the battlefield information he had seen before, he had already made a judgment in an instant. A disciple of Yin Yang Holy Land. With just a quick glance, Yan Hao discovered that most of these figures were wearing Yin Yang Holy Land clothes. But this was not surprising. He entered from the battlefield entrance near Yin Yang Holy Land and met the Yin Yang Holy Land disciples. Normal. 7 kings and 2 princes. Yan Hao flew over and could see the level of cultivation of these figures at a glance. The 10th person is finally here. Another prince. Many people in front of the passage naturally saw Yang Hao's figure. At this moment, in the ancient battlefield, almost everyone spread their breath so that they could resolve any crisis at any time, so these people naturally saw that Yang Hao's strength was only that of a prince. The eyes of many people could not conceal their disappointment. This is the entrance to the fourth domain, and it's extremely dangerous inside. Can my little brother enter the invincible rank? Can we reach the 9th heaven? However, one of the queens who was not wearing Yin Yang Holy Land clothes still came forward and asked with a gentle smile. A prince who defies heaven. The other party greeted him with a smile, and Yan Hao responded politely. He knew the requirements for entering the fourth domain. If you want to enter the fourth domain, you must have more than 10 people to activate the space channel. Because the fourth domain, the ancient battlefield after the war, is completely different from the first 3 domains. All entrants must appear in small groups, otherwise they will encounter great terror. Only those who are powerful can have the confidence to act alone. It is precisely because of this that there are 9 figures awaiting. A heaven-defying prince? That would be great. You must have known about the birth of Hades Palace, so you came here to try your luck, right? However, if this is your first time entering the fourth realm, little brother, you still need to be careful. When the time comes, you get closer to me and I will try my best to protect you. This queen has a somewhat charming appearance, a slender and fiery figure, but a good temper. She warned Yang Hao. The Hades Palace was born? Yang Hao's heart moved, and he smiled and said to the queen, "Thank you very much." He didn't explain much. He just planned to use these people to enter the fourth domain together, and did not plan to have too many interactions. After entering the fourth domain, he would naturally leave alone. Although the fourth domain alone would usher in it was terrifying, but his combat prowess was no worse than ordinary powers, so it was no problem. However, Yang Hao was a little interested in what the queen said about the birth of Hades' palace. He had a hunch that he couldn't tell his destination this time, so this is the Hades palace. With the arrival of Yang Hao, a group of 10 people successfully activated the space channel. However, except for the queen with a humble attitude, 6 of the other 8 people came from the Yinyang Holy Land and had an arrogant attitude. Even if he knew that Yang Hao was a heaven-defying prince, he didn't bother to communicate too much with him. As for the last person, he was an invincible prince, and his cultivation had reached the 9th level of the formation realm. He was taciturn and didn't like to talk. It was obvious after entering the 4th domain. It is to gain opportunities. The space passage from the 1st domain to the 4th domain is much narrower and longer than when entering the ancient battlefield. The mottled space fragments in the passage are shaking, making people feel instinctively depressed. Along the way, Yang Hao has interacted with this queen with a good temper, chatted for a few more words, and also got some information about the Hades palace from this queen. The more he learned about it, the more Yang Hao felt that the palace of Hades was most likely the place where the immortal emperor's formation was located. Arrive. Brace yourself and be careful. While Yang Hao was thinking and analyzing, suddenly there was light. A cold reminder from a king of Yinyang Holy Land came to Yang Hao's ears. He squinted his eyes and looked over. I'm really lucky. Yang Hao looked in front of him. Huge, terrifying figures appeared one after another. The aura exuded by each figure surpassed the princely level. These figures, there were at least dozens of them. It will only appear in the 4th area of the battlefield. Ancient Legion. Such bad luck. Just after entering the 4th domain, I encountered the ancient army. Little brother, don't stay too far away from me later, otherwise I won't be able to take care of you. After a conversation, Yang Hao already knew that the queen named Lu Yen gave serious instructions. Not only Yang Hao, but also another taciturn and invincible prince also received Lu Yan's instructions. This woman is a bit too old-fashioned and kind-hearted. When Yang Hao saw this scene, he burst into laughter. He didn't expect that such a good old man would exist even though he was already at the king level. He didn't pay attention and just responded. The silent invincible prince did not respond. Lu Yen. Lu Yen was not annoyed and said slowly to Yang Hao. Unlike the first 3 domains, the entire 4th domain is filled with ancient legions composed of so many ancient sergeants. Although the scale is not large, each ancient soldier has a strength that exceeds the Monster King level. Even if you are a prince who defies heaven, you must be careful. Too many geniuses fall because of their arrogance. Let's go, follow the disciples of Yinyang Holy Land. While Lu Yen was talking, some thieves led Yang Hao to hide behind the Yinyang Holy Land disciples and began to move forward. Seeing this scene, Yang Hao was speechless again. It turns out that the Zhaofu you are talking about is just like this. The care method? Even if you are a good person, you must be outstanding, otherwise you will not live to be a king. Yang Hao said with emotion, these disciples of Yinyang Holy Land are very proud. In order to keep the team intact, they will not deliberately drive away Lu Yen and him. Zhang Su, release the Taiyuan killing formation. Jiang Ming, your queen releases the Yanlei killing formation and the puppet magical power. You guys follow closely. If you fall behind and are massacred by these ancient soldiers, you can't blame us. In the team, the disciples from the Yin and Yang Holy Land are obviously well trained. Although they look down on the strength of Yang Hao and others, there is no such thing as looking down on others and causing internal strife. After all, we are in a dangerous place and we have come to the ancient battlefield. The purpose is to get an opportunity, and the team that can fight among themselves for no reason has long been destroyed. Yang Hao watched these ancient sergeants surround them, and were repelled by the Yin-Yang Holy Land kings who released the killing array, and he only found it quite interesting. The strength of the dozens of ancient soldiers in front of him, as Lu Yen said, exceeded the level of monster kings. Each of the ancient soldiers had a ferocious appearance, huge stature, and extremely powerful physical strength. The most special thing was the weapons in their hands. every battle blade and battle axe is flashing with a terrifying cold light. If it is slashed, it will probably be severely injured on the spot. Of course. For him, don't say that there are only dozens of these ancient soldiers. Even if they are Momochi, he can also turn his hands to suppress and kill them all. But this is the first time for him to see the king-level fighting method and these ancient soldiers, and he feels novel for a while. Holy Land disciples still have merit. Soon, Yang Hao discovered that when these Yin Yang Holy Land disciples killed or repelled the ancient soldiers, they would use an extremely mysterious secret technique to extract runes from the bodies of these ancient soldiers. This made Yan even more. What made Hao speechless was that Lu Yen, who was beside him, also took the opportunity to use the secret technique and collect the runes. Only the taciturn and invincible prince just followed the team without any action. Obviously, the secret technique they used needed to reach the king level. Cast. With the tacit cooperation of the kings of Yin Yang Holy Land, the entire team gradually broke out of the encirclement, and the ancient sergeants surrounding the team became increasingly sporadic and rare. Rushed out. You guys, you didn't contribute this time. Next, you need to complete the corresponding tasks assigned by us, otherwise you will leave on your own. Of course, the tasks assigned to you will try to ensure your life safety. At this time, the leading Yin Yang Holy Land king walked up to Yang Hao, Lu Yen and others, and said coldly and mercilessly from above. When Yang Hao heard the words of these Yin Yang Holy Land disciples, he planned to leave directly and follow the guidance of the light in his body to find killing formation. But just as he was about to fly away, he suddenly heard the king of Yin Yang Holy Land speak again. You are lucky this time. Our destination is the Hades Palace, according to the message from Her Highness the Saint. According to the news, there are a large number of war corpses that have never appeared on the ancient battlefield outside the Hades Palace. These war corpses are powerful and possess many special abilities. If you can visualize a few of them mapped into your killing array and runes, your strength will be greatly improved. The Palace of Hades is in the 5th domain. If you don't follow us, your chances of going to the Palace of Hades are slim given your strength. Hearing the words of the king of Yin and Yang Holy Land, Yang Hao was moved in his heart. He was not very interested in the corpse of the underworld palace mentioned by this king, but if he heard correctly, this king mentioned Her Royal Highness the Saint. The Holy Land of Yin and Yang, and the Saint in the ancient battlefield. Yulan. Yang Hao's eyes flashed. He had just guessed before, but now he is even more certain that Saint Yulan is in the Hades Palace. If the Emperor's formation eye is also in the Hades Palace, then it will be a lot easier. Yang Hao thought without speaking, and Lu Yen and the taciturn invincible prince naturally had no objections. In fact, this is also the case. Most of the people who enter the middle 3 domains from the first 3 domains are looking for opportunities in the Hades Palace. Rumble. At this moment, suddenly the earth began to tremble. What bad luck! Did we encounter the ancient army again? Or is there a natural disaster? Alert! Not even a moment after we were out of danger, we were faced with another crisis. The king of the Yin and Yang Holy Land immediately roared. However, except for Yang Hao, everyone else has been looking for opportunities in the ancient battlefield for a long time. Although they all secretly cried out for bad luck at this moment, they cheer. Kindness? Yang Hao's eyes narrowed. He sensed a terrible aura, and even he felt a sense of crisis. Ah! The shrill voice suddenly resounded. Everyone felt a chill in their hearts. They saw that the taciturn and invincible prince was torn apart by a terrifying figure that suddenly appeared in an instant. Run! Ancient warrior! When the other disciples of Yin Yang Holy Land saw this terrifying figure, they were so frightened that their formations were so scattered that they flew towards the end of the horizon. You too, don't run away yet. Now your task is to resist for a while. While running away, a frightening order came out. In the face of a life and death crisis, these disciples in the Holy Land also had no time to worry about Yang Hao and others. Don't listen to him. This is an ancient warrior. Only a powerful one can handle it. Go now! Lu Yan's voice reached Yang Hao's ears. She ran much faster than the Yin Yang Holy Land disciples, and she had obviously noticed something was wrong. But compared to the ruthless Yin Yang Holy Land disciples, Lu Yen was a reminder after all. Called Yang Hao. A powerful ancient warrior. Yang Hao looked at the ancient warrior who suddenly appeared with an interested expression. What are you doing? Run! Lu Yan's shocked voice came. She didn't expect that she had already reminded this heaven-defying prince, and he still didn't leave. Has this guy never been to the ancient battlefield? That's an ancient warrior. Usually he only haunts the back 9 realms. Although I don't know why I was so unlucky to encounter an ancient warrior in the 4th domain, once I encounter him, there will be a life and death crisis. Supreme Killing Sword. Hongmeng Hell Ape Rune. Under Lu Yan's shocked gaze, he directly took out the ancient divine sword contained in the sea of spiritual energy from his body and slashed it down with one sword. Suddenly, thousands of spiritual powers surged. A terrifying ape shadow rune flew out and attached to it. On top of the ancient divine sword, Yang Hao slashed out with one sword. Roar! A shocking and shrill roar came. This huge ancient warrior was severely injured by Yang Hao almost instantly. Although Yang Hao is only a monk in the formation realm, whether it is the ancient divine sword in his hand or his foundation, it was extremely terrifying. This sword brought with it thousands of murderous intentions, and it fell straight down and chopped into pieces the extremely tough body of the ancient warrior. Blood fountains gushed out. The disciples of the Yin and Yang Holy Land in the distance were shocked. Lu Yen also looked at Yang Hao in disbelief. No one thought that the heaven-defying prince who just thought he would fall would actually severely injure the ancient warrior with a sword. How is this possible? Not to mention the heaven-defying prince, even if the heaven-defying king saw this ancient warrior, he would escape quickly. Died? However, what shocked them was that the next moment they saw the heaven-defying prince take action again. The long sword in his hand flashed with a terrifying ape's shadow, directly separating the ancient warrior's head from the corpse. The atmosphere suddenly solidified. Everyone was exhausted. They all looked at Yang Hao's figure with extremely shocked eyes. What is the origin of this heaven-defying prince? No, he is definitely not a prince, but a powerful man who pretends to be a pig and eats tigers when he has nothing to do. Those disciples of Yin Yang Holy Land have cold sweat was flowing and they didn't dare to move. If they had known that there was such a powerful figure dormant among the team, they should have been more kind before. Do you know where the Hades Palace is? Yang Hao appeared next to Lu Yen with a smile and asked casually. No. Lu Yen has not yet recovered from the shock, his eyes are in a trance. Then you lead the way. Yang Hao didn't even look at these Yin Yang Holy Land disciples. He asked Lu Yen to lead the way because he wanted to confirm whether the killing formation was in the same direction as the Hades Palace, and also wanted to know more about the ancient battlefield. If they were all together, it would be the best okay. If she's not there, you can only kill the Yulan Saint first, and then look for her. Mighty, the Hades Palace is said to be the treasure trove of the ancient emperor, containing countless treasures from ancient eras. However, it is also extremely dangerous inside. The guards of the Hades Palace alone are extremely powerful, and the entire Hades Palace is like a maze, and even time and space overlap. The time when the Hades Palace appears is not fixed, just like a mirage. Sometimes you can see it every once in a while. Sometimes it may be rare to see it in thousands of years. This time, Hades Palace appeared in the 5th domain. It has been more than a month. It can be regarded as an extremely stable time. Many holy places have sent disciples there. I often take adventures in these 3 realms, and I am very familiar with the location of the Hades Palace. It's just mighty, pardon me. There are restrictions in the Hades Palace. If it appears in the last 3 realms, the powerful can enter. However, if it only appears in the first 3 domains or the middle 3 domains of the ancient battlefield, then only the princes and kings can enter. Lu Yen and Yang Hao flew together in the sky of the 4th domain. She carefully told Yang Hao a lot of information she knew about the Hades Palace. She was very smart, and the reason why the other party took her to Hades was not because of her kindness in taking care of her before. On the contrary, according to Lu Yan's guess, Yang Hao most likely rarely went to the ancient battlefield, and he brought her with him more because she knew enough about the ancient battlefield. No problem. Yang Hao nodded slightly. Although Lu Yan's character was a bit nicer, his intelligence was not low at all. He knew exactly what he wanted to know. Along the way, he learned a lot about the Hades Palace. It made Yang Hao feel good. Fortunately, the direction Lu Yan took him to fly was indeed consistent with the direction of the light shining in Wiyat Tower. His guess was completely correct. The front is the boundary between the 4th domain and the 5th domain. It won't take long after entering the 5th domain to reach the location of the Hades Palace. Flying all the way, Lu Yan cautiously spoke to Yang Hao again. Being with this great man, I'm a little lucky. Logically speaking, it is very easy for the two of them to encounter the Ancient Legion when they are walking in the middle 3 domains. This has reached the 5th realm, and we haven't even encountered a single natural disaster or earthly catastrophe. Could it be that this great master could intimidate the ancient legions with just his breath? How terrifying is his strength! She secretly felt a little strange in her heart. She had been practicing in the ancient battlefield for many years, and she knew very well how terrifying this 4th domain was. She didn't expect that traveling with this powerful man would go smoothly, which shocked her. This made her look at Yang Hao's figure feels more and more unfathomable. Kindness. Yang Hao nodded calmly and didn't say much. Great luck and magical power. But at this moment, he felt that the extinguished flame in the temple in his body was burning again, and he used his magical power again. In order to save time, Yang Hao kept using this special magical power. With the protection of special magical powers such as the Great Luck magical power, he could travel all the way. The two of them naturally did not encounter much trouble. As for the great terror that Yang Hao knew about in advance, there was no trace of it. There is no doubt that this is the terrifying effect of Qi Luan's magical power. The two of them successfully traveled through the 1st to 4th domain, entering the 5th domain. Lu Yan is indeed very familiar with the ancient battlefield. Under her leadership, and with the help of the Great Luck and magical power, Yang Hao soon came to a special area. There is the Hades Palace. Lu Yan took a deep breath, and the mountains rose and fell. Within his field of vision, there was a forest of steels shrouded in darkness. In the forest of steels, there were many ghosts that exuded terrifying auras. Many ghosts emitting powerful auras could be seen vaguely. Practitioners are fighting with these ghosts. These ghosts should be the war corpses mentioned by the disciples of Yin Yang Holy Land before. At the end of the forest of steels, a gray-green palace is shrouded in gray mist, looming and mysterious. Yang Hao nodded slightly, and the light in Wiyat Tower became more intense. Finally reached. It took him a lot of effort to travel all the way to this Hades Palace. This is him. If he were the previous disciples of the Yin and Yang Holy Land, it would probably take a very long time to get here. Just look for your own opportunities. Yang Hao said to Lu Yan that bringing Lu Yan to the Hades Palace would be mutually beneficial. Now that the cooperation is over, he prefers to travel alone, so naturally he does not need to go with him again. Thank you, Almighty. Lu Yan was also very sensible when she heard this. But when she saw Yang Hao walking directly through the forest of steels and heading towards the Hades Palace, there was a hint of weirdness in his bright eyes. This great man obviously wants to enter the Hades Palace. But the great power cannot enter the Hades Palace in the middle 3 domains at all. She is also a king, and her strength is not weak. Naturally, her purpose is to enter the Hades Palace. Following Lu Yan's gaze, Yang Hao went directly to the gate of the Hades Palace. This is an extremely huge gate, with something inside. An extremely deep breath came, like a bloody mouth. Looking inside, there were many intertwined roads in this bloody mouth. Stop. The Palace of Hades is dangerous. Non-Holy Land disciples must pay 10,000 spiritual stones before they can enter. Suddenly a cold voice came out and a king wearing the robes of the Yin Yang Holy Land appeared. Not just a figure, but several figures appeared in front of Yang Hao. Not only the Yin Yang Holy Land, the Qianquan Holy Land, but also the holy land of creation appeared one after another. Interesting. Yan Hao was speechless. He felt the tyranny of the major holy places. Even in the secret place of the ancient battlefield, it was also controlled by people from the major holy places. Senior, these are 10,000 spiritual stones. Just as Yan Hao's eyes were wandering over these domineering disciples, Lu Yan's figure followed him and quickly took out a bag of treasure and handed it to Yan Hao. Need not. Yan Hao smiled, and his wandering eyes slowly focused on the figure of the leader in front of him. The figure he looked at also looked at Yan Hao in a daze, a little surprised. Are you His Highness the Holy Son of Yaoguang? This figure is a king, and he is wearing the robe of the Holy Land of Eternal Life. Although Yan Hao does not know this disciple of the Holy Land of Eternal Life, as a disciple of the Holy Land, it would be a sin if he did not know the Holy Sun. The Holy Sun of Fluctuating Light? Lu Yan, who was behind Yan Hao, paused suddenly and looked at Yan Hao's figure in disbelief. She guessed Yan Hao's identity many times along the way. Rogue cultivators, ancestors of the dynasty, heads of some sects, and even people from the Holy Land Elder, she had already guessed. But she did not expect that Yan Hao would be an extremely noble saint. He is obviously powerful. How could he be the Holy Son of the Eternal Holy Land? Once you achieve great power, you will already be an elder in the Holy Land. Could it be that? He didn't lie. Was he really just a prince against heaven? Lu Yan's bright eyes kept blinking in shock, and her mind kept replaying the scene where Yan Hao instantly killed an ancient warrior. A prince has the combat power to kill a high-level warrior in an instant? Is it possible? This is not just against the sky. Oh. Even the king of defying heaven can't do it. Good. Yan Hao nodded indifferently. He did not hide his identity deliberately. It was a very boring approach. His eyes swept over the kings of the major holy places in front of him. He was clearly a prince, but he showed a superior attitude. It turned out to be the Holy Son of Shaking Light in the Holy Land of Eternal Life, so naturally there was no need to pay spiritual stones. No one felt offended by Yan Hao's behavior. On the contrary, kings from other holy lands immediately spoke politely. Their attitude was in sharp contrast to the previous one. Do you need someone to protect you? I myself will clear the way for you, the king of the Holy Land of Eternal Life said immediately. He was also confused just now. He did not expect that a prince from the Holy Sun of Yaoguang would come to the Hades Palace. Because of this, he hesitated for a while and did not recognize it immediately. Now that Yan Hao has already revealing his identity, he is just an inner disciple of the Holy Land of Eternal Life. Facing Yan Hao, he naturally needs to show respect. Need not. Yan Hao smiled. Naturally, he does not need the protection of an inner disciple. You, Saint Yulan, have a good relationship with me. I came here specifically to help her fight for opportunities. I wonder where she is now. Yan Hao, however, stopped talking to the disciples from the Holy Land of Eternal Life. Instead, he looked at another disciple from the Holy Land of Yin and Yang and said with an extremely friendly smile, Your Highness the Saint? She went to the side hall. The king of Yin Yang Holy Land, who made a domineering voice, was also a little confused when he heard Yan Hao's inquiry. He subconsciously pointed to one of the directions behind the gate of the Hades Palace and said subconsciously, A side hall? Thank you very much. You people in Yin Yang Holy Land are so kind. Yan Hao smiled and praised the king of Yin Yang Holy Land. He did not expect that. He just asked casually, but the king of Yin Yang Holy Land was so upright and directly told the whereabouts of Saint Yulan, which really surprised him. With a chuckle, he strode straight into a path pointed to by the Yin Yang Holy Land in the Hades Palace. Seeing Yan Hao step into it, the king of the Yin Yang Holy Land felt vaguely confused. He looked at the Eternal Life Holy Land. The king asked with some confusion, Does the Holy Son of Light and Saint Yulan have a good relationship? They have been practicing in the ancient battlefield for a long time, and the information is not particularly well informed. In addition, they do know that a strange treasure has been born in the Hades Palace at this moment, and Saint Yulan is fighting for it with several other saints. The king of the Holy Land of Eternal Life heard that Yan didn't understand either. He pondered for a moment and said, "Maybe I don't know." San. Stepping into the corridor, Yang Hao walked forward step by step. He was not really naive enough to believe that the king of the Yin Yang Holy Land would show the way. What Yang Hao believed was the chance guidance given to him by the Eternal Emperor and Wiyat Tower. "This is really the direction," Yang Hao muttered. The further he walked, the brighter the light in the Wiyat Tower became. Regardless of whether St. Yulan is in this direction or not, at least the killing array eyes left by the Yongxing Emperor will be here. He had some expectations. There was something on his side. Cautiously, he walked faster and faster. Lu Yen told him a lot of information about the Hades Palace before. He knew that the Hades Palace might not seem big, but it was actually extremely vast inside, with layers of space. Lu Yen told him a lot of information about the Palace of Hades. Yen even guessed that this Hades Palace would not be smaller than an area in the ancient battlefield. Therefore, along the way, Yang Hao did not encounter other practitioners. On the contrary, along the way, he encountered a few sporadically filled with black smoke. Wandering souls, the strength of these wandering souls is approximately at the level of the invincible king. They are probably the guards of the underworld that Lu Yen mentioned earlier, so they naturally do not pose a threat to Yang Hao. In addition, Yang Hao will deliberately use the magical power of great luck from time to time, which is not a problem along the way. It was quite smooth, and it didn't feel like walking in dangerous terrain at all. With Yang Hao's pace, he walked for about 10 minutes before he saw a bright spot. Nobody. Yang Hao squinted his eyes, but did not sense any human figures, but walked into the hall. This hall is in all directions, plus the corridor he walked into. There are 8 corridors connected together. The entire Hades Palace is like an incomparable palace. A huge maze. The hall is empty, and there doesn't seem to be any treasures. Have you been robbed of your opportunity? Yang Hao glanced at it, and planned to continue to follow the guidance in Wiyat Tower and walk towards one of the other 7 corridors. At this moment, Yang Hao suddenly stopped. Earned 100,000 points for entering the side hall of the underworld. Earned 300,000 points for discovering the Jiuli killing map. Earned 300,000 points for discovering the Dapeng killing map. He suddenly noticed that rows of discovery records appeared on the system's income records. Jiuli killing picture. Dapeng killing map. Yang Hao looked at the walls of this side hall, and suddenly found that there were strange lines on the walls. He concentrated on it, and spiritual power surged into his eyes. One after another, pictures appeared in front of Yang Hao's eyes. In the first painting, many ferocious giants with 3 heads and 6 arms are killing human beings who are running around. In the second painting, a rock bird turns into golden flames and creates evil wind, killing human beings for fun. Picture after picture, many races are killing humans. The human race in the picture is extremely miserable, being slaughtered like livestock. In the memory of Holy Sun Yaoguang, the status of the human race in the ancient era was as humble as insects and ants. He did not expect to see it with his own eyes today. Yang Hao looked at the side hall. There were a total of 17 murals. Each one was a picture of various races killing human beings. It's quite an opportunity. Unfortunately, no interest. He can see these murals at a glance. If he visualizes them, he can definitely reflect these ancient races, and their power is by no means weak. After Yang Hao glanced at it, he showed a look of disgust. Although he is not a good person, but he doesn't want to visualize such a scene. What's more, every ancient rune he possesses can visualize more powerful creatures than these murals. Let's break up. Yang Hao shook his head, but he used a series of terrifying spiritual powers to completely destroy these murals. Kindness? What surprised Yang Hao happened. After his spiritual power destroyed these murals easily, the strokes he destroyed began to slowly ooze blood. The blood stains that flowed out after the murals were broken clearly exuded incomparable blood. Rich pure scent. Nice one. Yang Hao's eyes flashed, and he looked at his system income records. Earned 500,000 points for discovering Jiuli's true blood. gained 500,000 points for discovering the true blood of Dupeng. As expected, the system directly marked the origin of the blood stains seeping from the strokes. Astonishingly, it was the real blood that slaughtered the human race in those murals just now. Although Yang Hao didn't know what the true blood was used for, he instinctively knew that these things were treasures. Because at the moment when these true bloods appeared, the temple where he carried the magical power of treasure hunting was blazing with flames, constantly burning reminders. Ha! What a blessing! I discovered real blood. They all belong to me. Just when Yang Hao was about to collect the real blood that seeped out from the wall, an arrogant voice suddenly came from a man. A lean king wearing a blue robe, with a beaming look on his face, ignored Yang Hao and began to use his spiritual power, wrapping up the seeping blood. Obviously, in the eyes of this king, a mere prince is not worth mentioning at all. Snort! Yang Hao's eyes turned cold and murderous intent arose. Someone actually dared to snatch the treasure under his nose. He immediately activated 9 terrifying supreme killing powers and attacked and killed the blue-robed king. What a courage! The blue-robed king was shocked when he felt the magical power coming. He didn't expect that a mere prince would dare to attack him directly. The heaven-defying prince! The blue-robed king reacted immediately in his mind. Only the heaven-defying prince could pose such a terrible threat to him. However, the blue-robed king dared to ignore Yang Hao's opportunity to snatch him. It was because of this blue-robed king. The king in blue robes is confident in his own strength. Even if he is a heaven-defying prince, he can suppress it with just one hand. Because he is the supreme king. The king in blue robes also summoned 9 magical powers in an instant, and released them immediately his supreme killing formation. However, even so, the blue-robed king still underestimated Yang Hao's terror. His 9 magical powers were all defeated by Yang Hao's supreme magical power in an instant. The supreme killing formation was not there yet. After being completely released, he was already killed. Oh! The miserable howl resounded throughout this side hall. A supreme king was seriously injured when he came face to face with him. Ha! The surprise was for Yang Hao. He didn't expect that the blue-robed king was quite strong. He was killed by his 9 supreme magical powers and didn't die. Without thinking, he activated his magical powers again, and went directly towards the blue-robed king to kill him. Spare your life! I am a follower of Dongbua's holy son in the holy land of creation. My holy son is not far away, and he is very protective of me. If you kill me, the consequences will be disastrous. Hearing the blue-robed king's decisive begging for mercy, Yang Hao raised his brows, but changed his mind. Seeing Yang Hao's magical power restrained, the blue-robed king immediately let out a long sigh of relief, and his back was dripping with cold sweat. But the next moment his eyes turned sinister. This heaven-defying prince is too powerful. He must have countless secrets. Fortunately, the other party is afraid of his own holy son. When he is still alive after the disaster, he will definitely report it to the holy son and let Dongbua's holy son come and suppress this heaven-defying prince. Hee. Yang Hao took a deep look at the blue-robed king, and directly called out the Wuya Tower. Before the blue-robed king could react, he took the seriously injured blue-robed king in. Transmutation of Divine Light. While Yang Hao was urging the transformation Divine Light in the Wuya Tower to transform the blue-robed king, Yang Hao was collecting the true blood seeping out from the walls one by one. The blue-robed king's will was not very strong. When Yang Hao collected the true blood and checked the Wuya Tower, he found that the blue-robed king had been completely transformed. The little Taixin king has met his master. The Taixin king who is in Wuya Tower is paying homage to Yang Hao with a pious look on his face. There is no resentment in his eyes, only admiration and loyalty. Where is your holy son? Have you ever seen Saint Yulan? Yang Hao didn't care about the origin of Taixin King himself, or what secrets he had. He directly asked about the whereabouts of Saint Dongbua and Saint Yulan. Reporting to the master, my saint son and saint girl Yulan are fighting for a rare treasure in a side hall. We are not strong enough, so we will easily get in the way in that side hall, and will be sent by the Holy Sun to find our own opportunities. The Taishin king heard Yang Hao's question and immediately responded with great piety. When Yang Hao heard the words, his eyes lit up. It seemed that he had found the right person for his unintentional move. He released the Taishin king without thinking and said to him, "Lead the way." Yes. Taishin king was released from the Wuyat Tower by Yang Hao. He was still extremely pious and obeyed Yang Hao's words. The two of them left this side hall and headed towards the corridors under the leadership of Taishin king. Along the way, King Taishin told Yang Hao all the information he knew. Yang Hao completely believed that the rare treasure that Saint Yulan was snatching was the Formation Eye. Growing up too fast. However, Yang Hao frowned slightly. Hearing the meaning of King Taishin's words, Saint Yuan was already on equal footing with Saint Dongbua and could fight. Saint Dongbua is the chief saint of the Holy Land of Creation. And I, the King of Heaven. He is a genius with the same strength as the Holy Son of Tianquan. According to the information given to him by the Holy Lord before, Saint Yulan is still a heaven-defying prince, and her strongest record is just to defeat an invincible king. Now it seems, not only has Saintess Yulan been promoted to the heaven-defying king, but her strength is many times more terrifying than before. This time, this scourge must be solved. Yang Hao's eyes flickered as he followed King Taishin into a side hall. At this point, the light in Wuyat Tower finally stopped flickering. Yang Hao finally saw Saint Yulan. What surprised him was that she was still here. I met an acquaintance in a side hall. Under the leadership of King Taishin, this side hall was much larger than the side hall where Yang Hao collected true blood before. At a glance, there were only a few human figures, and there were corpses on the ground. The blood of these corpses was still flowing, and it was obvious that they had just died. The most eye-catching thing is the woman in black skirt surrounded in the center. Her appearance is stunning, and the most eye-catching thing is her waterfall-like long hair, each strand of which is pure white and flawless, making her temperament as cold as an iceberg. One person, tall, slightly embarrassed in white clothes, but still elegant, is the Holy Son of Dongbua. One person had a rough temperament, and was wearing a worn Taoist robe. He looked a bit slovenly, which was in sharp contrast to the Holy Son Dongbua. According to King Taishin's message, Yang Hao knew that this man was a holy son of the Holy Land of Qianquan, the 9 saints of Tao. Son. The other one was an acquaintance. It was clearly Lu Yen who had just separated from Yang Hao. Although this person's strength reaches the level of a king, he cannot compare with the other 3. At this moment, Lu Yen was lying on the ground, with a pool of blood flowing under his body. He seemed to have lost his breath and fell on the spot. When Yang Hao saw such a scene, he glanced at Lu Yan's corpse, with a strange expression. Suspended animation? Some kind of magical power? His reincarnation body is extremely miraculous. Just one look at it and he knew that although Lu Yan had no breath and seemed dead, he was actually still alive. After I entered this palace of Hades, I didn't delay at all. He also suppressed King Taishin and then rushed here. Why did Lu Yan arrive here before me? Why are you still dead here? He was a little strange. They were walking together. Although Lu Yan deliberately hid his strength, he already had some judgment on Lu Yan's strength. At most, it was the level of Taishin King. This Hades palace is very strange. Lu Yan appeared here, and with the corpse lying here, it still made him a little confused. However, he and Lu Yan had only met each other. Although he felt strange, after glancing at Lu Yan's corpse, Yang Hao turned his gaze. He turned to the stunning woman in black dress and white hair in the center. There is no doubt that this woman is Saint Yulan. At the first sight of her, Yang Hao was sure of his judgment. On her body, Yang Hao he felt a strong aura of disgust, as if he always wanted to suppress this woman. He knew very well that this was the fate of the two of them. He was the villain, and Saint Yulan was the protagonist. Good, if we meet, we will become mortal enemies. Yulan, hand over the great emperor's inheritance. I joined forces with Dongbo, and no matter how fast you grow, you can only live in despair. At this time, Saint Sun Daojio's lazily voice sounded. He and Saint Sun Dongbua formed an encirclement and slowly approached Saint Yulan. If you get any closer, you'll die. Saintess Yulan suddenly spoke. Her tone was cold, but her voice was as sweet as a clear spring. At the same time, a terrifying aura erupted around her. Yan Hao was very familiar with this aura. Murderous aura. Shocking murderous aura erupted from Saintess Yulan. The body explodes. It seems that as long as the two saints Daojio and Dongbo take a step forward, Saint Yulan will immediately take action with thunder. It seems that the formation eye has been obtained by Saint Yulan. Yan Hao narrowed his eyes. He already knew bits and pieces of the truth from the mouths of the two saints. She is worthy of being a heroine. Even if he hurried slowly, Saint Yulan still beat him to get the formation of the Eternal Emperor. If I don't come here, I'm afraid that these two saints may be suppressed by Saint Yulan's trump card, giving away experience and opportunities. Yan Hao looked at the tense scene. It seemed that the two saints had the advantage, but he knew very well that there was a protagonist and no trump card. Saint Yuan not only grabbed the advantage of the formation, not only did she not escape, but she also made it clear that she was not afraid of these two at all. If he didn't have a trump card, he wouldn't believe it at all. Yan Hao pondered for a moment. He didn't decide to step forward immediately. Instead, he decided to watch around to see what trump card Saint Yulan had before taking action. As for eternal life, the Emperor's formation I was also in the hands of Saint Yulan at this moment. After suppressing Saint Yulan, he was able to kill two birds with one stone, so why be anxious? So, he walked out grandly, sat cross-legged next to Liu Yan's corpse, and prepared to watch with relish. It was a good show. With the strength of the other three people, they were naturally aware of Yan Hao's existence. However, Yan Hao's prince-level cultivation did not attract the attention of these three top kings. Although they felt that this sudden appearance of the prince it is very strange, but at this moment when the great emperor is inheriting, who cares about the little prince? As for the identity of the holy son of Yan Hao Yaoguang, those Holy Land disciples at the entrance of the Hades Palace need to remember that it is because of their low status, and they are afraid of offending the Holy Sun. These three people, they are all geniuses. Unless they come from the same Holy Land, they will not pay attention to the weak and ungrown saints in other holy places. Even Saint Yulan just glanced at Yan Hao lightly and then ignored him. She didn't know Yan Hao. She issued a declaration of war to Yan Hao just because Yan Hao killed Fang Lai, which indirectly cut off her luck. Although she instinctively felt disgusted when she saw Yan Hao. But Xin Yulan, the girl, really didn't know that Yan Hao was the holy son of light. Boom! A loud noise came. The stalemate was completely broken not even a moment after Yan Hao sat down. Holy Sun Daojio used a series of terrifying magical powers, which burst out in an instant. Holy Sun Dongbua also tacitly understood they used their magical powers incomparably to kill the Saint Yulan. The magical powers were released instantly, with a very terrifying suddenness. As top kings, their magical powers were even more extraordinary. The weakest one was almost an 8th grade magical power. The two of them took action instantly. If it were a king of the same realm, he would be overwhelmed by magical powers in an instant, just like Yan Hao suppressed Taixing King before. He would be seriously injured even if he died. But Saint Yulan is different. Her body, the figure, didn't even move at all. Facing the surging magical power, Saintess Yulan's body exuded a mysterious halo. Kindness? When Yan Hao saw this scene, his pupils shrank. In his sight, he could only see the numerous magical powers released by Saint Sun Daojio and Saint Sun Dongbua, which collided with the mysterious halo emanating from Saint Yulan. Almost like ice and snow melting, it disappeared in an instant. What kind of magical power is this? No, this is not magical power. Yan Hao looked at the mysterious halo cleansed by Saint Yulan seriously. He has the most magical powers in the world. No one can match him in terms of familiarity with magical powers, but he didn't feel anything from those mysterious halos. To the extent that I can't even feel the fluctuations of spiritual power. Is it talent? Yan Hao kept his eyes fixed and guessed. Practitioners in this world fight. Only magical powers can be released instantly. Whether it is skills, tactics, runes, or killing arrays, they all need to mobilize Dao patterns and spiritual power. But Saint Yulan releases a mysterious halo, but it is released instantly like a magical power. A terrible trump card. Yan Hao's eyes were like a god, and he continued to pay attention. He wanted to know how many times this mysterious halo could be released by the Holy Lady Yulan. Can it only dissolve magical powers, or can it break all kinds of magic? What? When Yan Hao's thoughts were turning, Holy Sun Daojiu was already shocked and screamed. Obviously, this was the first time they encountered such a strange phenomenon. Get out of the killing array. Xinzi Donghua suddenly spoke. They are all the top kings. Although they are shocked in their hearts, they have extremely rich combat experience. The next moment, a terrifying killing array with thousands of runes surged from his sea of spiritual energy. Come out and kill the Saint Yulan! A truly top-level killing array is like a small world. It was also the first time for Yang Hao to see the fighting between top kings. He found that compared with the killing formations of ordinary kings, the killing formations condensed by a saint like Donghua Holy Sun with profound knowledge and unique blessings were full of countless smart and powerful creatures. These creatures are the runes of all things that Saint Donghua spent countless hours visualizing and mapping. At this time, these runes of all things in the killing array of Saint Donghua are bursting out with earth-shattering energy. The light, just as Yang Hao thought, was shining like a small world. Saint Sun Daojiu on the other side also used his killing array. Compared with Saint Sun Donghua's colorful killing array, Daojiu Saint Sun the killing formations of the 9 Saint Suns were full of mysterious Dao charms flowing out, like a horse flying in the sky, elegant to the extreme. Facing the killing formations of the 2 top kings, the Yulan Saintess, however, was not in a hurry, and once again purged out a stream of mysterious halo. This time, the mysterious halo that washed out continued to bloom like ripples on water. The 2 supreme killing formations were constantly being pushed back as if encountering huge waves. They even began to collapse. Break all laws. Yang Hao took a deep breath and stared at the mysterious halo emitted by Saint Yulan. He guessed it right. Even the supreme killing formation almost collapsed. Those mysterious halos can really break through all methods. These 2 lost. Yang Hao patted his butt and stood up. He looked at Lu Yan's body on the ground and shook his head. Wherever the protagonist is, there are too many surprises. Just when the thought came to an end, Lu Yan suddenly took action and unleashed a terrifying blow. The target. Holy Sun Dongbo. Originally, Daojiu and Holy Sun Dongbo were suppressed by Saint Yulan, and now Lu Yan's origin is unknown. Yan attacked and killed Saint Donghua again. Yang Hao was too familiar with this kind of script. Without him present, these 2 saints would have completely fallen and become stepping stones for Saint Yulan. The more this happened, the more murderous thoughts Yang Hao felt in his heart. The meaning became more and more terrifying. The moment Lu Yan took action, he took a step forward and punched Saint Yulan without any explanation. Bitch! How could you not die? Impossible! I have obviously personally sent you down to meet your sister. The shrill scream of Holy Sun Donghua came. He was bleeding and flying backwards. He was controlling the killing array to resist the mysterious method of Saint Yulan. Having experienced hundreds of battles, he was always on guard against sneak attacks. But the person he was wary of was Yang Hao, the prince who was inexplicably watching, not Lu Yan, who had been killed by him before. Holy Son of Dongbo! Sage Daojiu was shocked. He felt the sudden change and immediately retreated extremely quickly to avoid being pursued by Saint Yulan. However, he did not sense Saint Yulan taking advantage of this situation to take action. Looking closely, his eyes were shaking. It's him! He saw it. He saw Yang Hao erupting like a volcano in Fenglin. He punched Saint Yulan directly. Boom! Saint Yulan flew out like a cannonball and hit the stone wall of the side hall with a loud bang. What a terrifying physical strength! Who is he? Why attack Saintess Yulan? Sage Daojio's face changed drastically. In his sight, he saw Yang Hao's figure breaking out at extreme speed again, and punched Saint Yulan, who landed on the stone wall. Continuously. With infinite killing intent. But in the end, Saint Yulan is not a weakling. Although she was caught off guard by Yang Hao's first punch and vomited blood, her magical power flashed, and she recovered instantly. At the same time, she appeared in another place in the side hall as if she had disappeared. The magical power of movement. However, when Yang Hao saw Saint Yulan disappear, he also used the magical power of movement without hesitation, and also appeared next to Saint Yulan. Jiuyo suppressed the prison and broke out crazily. A huge ape shadow like the runes flew out and blessed Yang Hao's body. Since you can break through all kinds of magic, then I will not use magical powers or techniques, but only use the purest physical strength to fight you. Yang Hao has been practicing so far, and is actually the most powerful. It is the power of the physical body. His physical body is suppressed by the semi-god level secret method, and the billions of demons in the body are all sending the most terrifying power. The holy girl Yulan was once again scarred by Yang Hao's attack. Retreating steadily. Endless treasures of light and supernatural powers flashed on the body of Saint Yulan, and then shattered. Run! Saint Yulan was caught off guard by Yang Hao. Even if she was on guard, she did not expect Yang Hao her strength would be so terrifying. Every punch that Yang Hao throws now can directly blow up a king. If she didn't have many defensive treasures, she might have died on the spot. I saw the holy maiden of Yulan sacrificed again. A strange treasure appeared, and the moment Yang Hao smashed it into pieces, the figure flashed away and disappeared into one of the corridors of the side hall. Yang Hao's figure followed him and chased him away. At the same time, the seriously injured and dying Holy Sun Dongbue immediately disappeared into another corridor. Lu Yan's figure also chased him away. For a moment, in this side hall, only the Daojio Holy Sun remained, messy in the wind. His face was dull. He was thinking, what happened just now? Aren't he and the Holy Sun Dongbue the opponents to fight against the Holy Lady Yulan? How come that in just an instant, earth-shaking changes happened? The man who attacked Dongbue before, why is the woman of the Holy Sun resurrected again? What happened to the prince whose physical power was so terrifying that he chased the Holy Lady Yulan? This was the first time for Holy Sun Daojio to see such a strange situation. After thinking for a moment, he decided to chase Yang Hao and Saint Yulan in the direction where they disappeared. Really decisive. Yang Hao, who is chasing Saint Yulan at this moment, is chasing after Saint Yulan, and he is holding on to Saint Yulan. He is faster than Saint Yulan. Saint Yulan can't get rid of Yang Hao at all. She can only rely on various methods to get rid of Saint Yulan. Plant magical weapons and rare treasures to resist Yang Hao's attack. For the first time in her life, Saint Yulan was in such a mess. All her clothes were torn to pieces by Yang Hao. But there was nothing she could do. Her physical strength was not as strong as Yang Hao's. The other party seems to have seen that she can annihilate the magical killing formation, and she has not even released any spiritual power. Desperate situation. Saint Yulan bites the corner of her already pale lips, sparks burst out in her mind, and thousands of thoughts are constantly calculating. At this moment the two of them chased and escaped, and they had entered another empty side hall in the Hades Palace. Saint Yulan's eyes were fierce. In an instant, she threw a divine light with a rich and terrifying aura into one of the corridors. Go! Then, turn around and rush towards another corridor that is completely opposite. Is this the Eternal Emperor's formation eye that she got before? Yang Hao just glanced at the divine light, and then sensed that the divine light was thrown into the corridor by Saint Yulan. The guidance of opportunity left by the Eternal Emperor in the Wiyat Tower in his body flickered again, guiding him to the direction. Go to that corridor. Did Saint Yulan think that I attacked and killed her because I wanted to get the Eternal Emperor's eyes? Yang Hao was just stunned for a moment, and then he understood what Saint Yulan meant. Really decisive! When Saint Yulan fell into a desperate situation, she was extremely decisive and put all her efforts into giving up the inheritance of the emperor she had just obtained. A strong man cut off his wrist just to survive. Unfortunately, you are wrong. Although Yan Hao had the same thought for thousands of times, he actually didn't even hesitate at all. He didn't even look at the formation. He once again followed the steps of Saint Yulan and chased after her. What the? Emperor Yongxing left behind the formation. He has the opportunity to guide in the Wuya Tower, and he can look for it again at any time. But once the Yulan Saint is allowed to run away, the protagonist who is on guard next time will definitely have all kinds of strange ways to restrain himself. The more decisive the Saintess Lan showed, the more murderous intent Yang Hao became. He caught up with the Saintess Yulan again and engaged in a crazy and savage close-quarters fight, causing the Saintess Yulan to bleed continuously in the corridor. Who are you? Saint Yulan was completely confused at this moment. She originally thought that Yang Hao came for the inheritance of the emperor. So in desperate situation, she resolutely gave up the inheritance of the emperor and wanted to escape. But what she didn't expect was, the opponent is still chasing after him. The inheritance of the great emperor seems to have no attraction to the opponent. How is this possible? Saint Yulan, for the first time in her life, is a little panicked. She doesn't know who the opponent is and why he wants to attack and kill yourself relentlessly. Yang Hao did not respond to Saint Yulan. A life-and-death attack is a life-and-death attack. He has so much time to talk nonsense. With one sentence, he can hit Saint Yulan many times. The terrifying fist style, with the blessing of the Hong Meng Hell 8 rune and the 9 nether prison suppression technique, it exploded to the extreme. There won't be too many exotic treasures on her body. It should last less than 3 minutes. Although it went smoothly, you can't be careless. Next is the moment when accidents are most likely to occur. While Yang Hao was facing the Yulan Holy Maiden with crazy output, he was also deducing his thoughts crazily, calculating what accidents might happen. First, environment. This is the Palace of Hades, with countless legends and a treasure trove. I have to restrict her movements and not let her run around. Second, what other trump cards does she have? If I remember correctly, she should have a G-down magic weapon that she hasn't used yet. What else? Yang Hao's thoughts arose and he kept recalling the information about Saint Yulan. At the same time, a tower shadow flew out of him. Wuya Tower! Yang Hao controlled Wuya Tower, unleashed the power of the Imperial soldiers, suppressed Saint Yulan, and imprisoned her actions. Seeing the Wuya Tower flying out, Saintess Yulan's expression changed drastically. She could feel the terror of this Wuya Tower. After flying out of this small tower, her body instantly became much slower. It was originally unable to match Yang Hao's speed, but now it was as slow as a turtle in front of Yang Hao. Her divine body is Chaos Immortal Body. The characteristic of the Chaos Immortal Body seems to be, it can take the power of all things and turn it into one's own use. When Yang Hao thought of this, his heart skipped a beat. His body was constantly bombarding the body of Saint Yulan. The power of the body is also a kind of power of all things. She still has a lot of trump cards. There's even some energy left. Yang Hao's originally somewhat excited mood suddenly became extremely calm after being analyzed. He knew that Saint Yulan was far less miserable than she was now. She must be caught unexpectedly and kill her with one blow. Yang Hao concluded. After summarizing, Yang Hao's face darkened. He found that he seemed to be unable to do it. If it were an ordinary king, or even a powerful one, he could kill it easily. But this woman not so much. Her immortal body is a chaotic immortal body, which will constantly absorb any power she has. With that weird mysterious halo, even if he takes out the ancient divine sword, the spirituality on it will probably be wiped away. It would be very difficult to severely damage this woman. Easy. Kill with one hit. Too difficult. In this case, let's think differently. Seeing the Yuan Saint whose aura was getting weaker and weaker, like a movie king, Yang Hao changed his mind. Town! Yang Hao looked calm on the surface, but he was shouting in his heart. He changed his mind and decided not to insist on killing the Yulan saint to avoid all kinds of accidents, but chose to suppress her and enter the Wuyat Tower for transformation. Following his control, the Wuyat Tower bloomed with a brilliant light, shrouding the Holy Maiden of Yulan. Although the Wuyat Tower is a special imperial weapon, its main function is to transform, but its suppressive power is still imperial soldier level. Not good! Saint Yulan has long realized that the small tower hanging in the void is not an extraordinary thing. Now when she sees the Wuyat Tower blooming with brilliant light and surging toward her, she feels great fear in her heart. Although she does not know that she is being suppressed by this small tower. What will happen? But Saint Yulan already has a premonition in her heart. If it doesn't explode, it is very likely that she will no longer be able to turn around. Kill! Saint Yulan shouted angrily at this moment. The Chaos Immortal body, which was originally covered in scars and with blood flowing across its body, recovered in an instant and turned into its full glory. At the same time, a silver-white rod exuded endless profound aura was shot out of her body. The spear appeared in her hand. She dodged the suppressive light falling from Wuyat Tower almost instantly. She was indeed showing weakness just now, wanting to lower Yang Hao's vigilance so that he could fight back. But she didn't expect. Wuyat Tower directly forced her into a real desperate situation. Once the trump card becomes a clear card, there is no threat anymore. But now there is no room for Saint Yulan to think too much. Fight. You can only fight. The only way is to fight this. The most powerful enemy in her life was killed. Only then did she have a chance to get out of the Hades Palace. The silver-white spear in the hand of Saint Yulan instantly summoned 4 killing formations of wind, thunder, water and fire under her wave, heading towards Yang Hao beheaded away. These killing formations were all engraved on the extreme divine weapons in her hands. They did not require any consumption at all and could be washed out with just a thought. They were extremely powerful. Well done! When Yang Hao saw this scene, he was not surprised but overjoyed. He also took out the ancient divine sword and faced the silver-white spear wielded by Saint Yulan. There is no doubt that the silver-white spear in Saintess Yulan's hand belongs to her. The ultimate divine weapon. This means that Saint Yulan has reached the end of her rope. Snapped! 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 In the void, the sound of the collision of divine weapons continued to sound. In the corridor where the two of them were, space-shattering cracks began to appear in all directions. They are fighting fiercely. Even the corridors of ancient secret places like the Hades Palace were constantly being beaten to pieces. The 4 terrifying killing formations were so sharp that they directly crushed Yang Hao's body. Each of these killing formations summoned by the Ji Dao divine soldiers has the edge to kill the Supreme King in an instant. Although Yang Hao was constantly sacrificing defensive treasures one after another at this moment, every time he sacrificed them, Saint Yulan would summon a terrifying mysterious halo, completely wiping out the spirituality of these defensive treasures. The sky was stained with blood, and large swaths of golden blood were scattered among the narrow but broken corridors. Yang Hao came to this world and fell into a fierce battle for the first time. It was also the first time I shed blood in a fierce battle. But similarly, Saint Yulan didn't feel well either. Her blood is splashing, her muscles and bones are shattered, and her immortal body is collapsing. This means that the Chaos Immortal body can continuously absorb Yang Hao's punch power, and then feed it back to Saint Yulan, otherwise she would have fallen on the spot. Even so, Saint Yulan was also extremely uncomfortable. The Wuyat Tower has been stirring up and suppressing the divine light. Her combat is limited at every turn. They seemed evenly matched, but she also fell into the same predicament as Yang Hao before. Unable to kill Yang Hao instantly. Moreover, she is even more dangerous. As time goes by, if she is not careful, she may be suppressed by the divine light of the flying small tower. What to do? A breakthrough must be made. Only by breaking through can there be hope. Evens can fight back. Saint Yulan clenched her silver teeth. This was the only way she could think of at the moment. But it's not that easy. She just broke through and became the king not long ago. At this moment, the whole world is shaking. Boom! A terrible explosion came again. Not good! Both Yan Hao and Saint Yulan felt the terrifying aura coming from them. This corridor in the Hades Palace was completely shattered by the battle between the two of them. Horrible visions emerged one after another, cleansing the soul and killing the spiritual energy, the black wind, the will-o'-the-wisp that devours supernatural powers and burns the body, the Kuei-shui that corrodes the Tao patterns and eliminates the six senses. In the past, there was only a kind of natural disaster that was extremely terrifying in ancient battlefields, but now it was sweeping through the broken corridors. Natural disaster! The faces of Yan Hao and Saint Yuan turned dark. No one thought that after the corridor of the Hades Palace was broken, it would lead to natural disasters and catastrophes. Moreover, it was not the ordinary horrific natural disasters and catastrophes. The opportunity has come! Saint Yulan was shocked at first, but quickly calmed down. She will take advantage of this natural disaster to escape. Snort! Yan Hao's eyes shined with divine light. The protagonist's luck is so terrible. Even if he calculated everything, the accident happened after all. But that's it. He would never let Saint Yulan leave. A white light and shadow appeared, shrouding him. The Yaoguang immortal peak refined by the Holy Lord himself. Infinite spiritual energy filled his body. In the Yaoguang immortal peak, the ancient trees of the world swayed crazily, giving birth to auras that turned into liquids. The natural disasters and tribulations all around him was washed away and isolated by the vast sea of spiritual energy in an instant. Although doing so would overdraw the shaking light immortal peak a lot, Yan Hao has no regrets. Town! Town! Yan Hao stirred up the shaking light immortal peak, isolated the natural disasters and earthly catastrophes, and once again killed the fleeing holy maiden of Yulan. The Wiyao Tower crazily scatters to suppress the divine light, and captures the holy maiden of Yulan. Who is he? Saint Yulan saw that Yan Hao was still pursuing Yan Hao even after the natural disaster appeared. For a moment, her beauty turned pale and she felt extremely aggrieved. She knew that she had offended a life and death figure who would not stop fighting with her. Enemy! Although she doesn't even know who this monster is. Burn longevity and fight hard. Even if the foundation is damaged, it is still better than falling. Saint Yulan was finally driven crazy. The next moment, she cast a secret technique. The long white hair that was originally flying quickly became dry. There were also wrinkles on her face. However, the hair on her body, the aura is becoming more and more powerful. The suppressive divine light of the Wiyao Tower fell on the Yulan saint, but it had no effect. The suppression failed. Burst! But at this time, Yan Hao's eyes turned cold. He knew that Saint Yulan had been forced to burn her longevity, and there was no other way she could use it. At this moment, he had also used all his cards. At this time, thousands of people, thousands of blank spiritual energy runes that had not been mapped flew out crazily. Then, exploded. Thousands of spiritual energy runes exploded, even Yan Hao was affected, and blood flowed and dripped into the void again. Madman! You madman! The rising aura of Saint Yulan, enveloped by the explosion of thousands of spiritual energy runes, was instantly annihilated. Saint Yulan was severely injured. She never thought that Yan Hao would be so decisive. As long as he had condensed the spiritual energy runes, practitioners all know that spiritual energy runes are the essence of spiritual energy in the body. They are used to visualize the foundation of the runes that map all things. Once broken, it means the permanent loss of spiritual energy in the body. How many spiritual energy symbols did this guy just explode? 1? Tens of thousands. An invincible prince may not be able to condense so many spiritual runes for hundreds of years. She is seeking to survive. So at all costs. What is he doing? Why must he fight to the death? Saintess Yulan can't think of it clear. Town! But at this moment, Yan Hao's cold words fell again. This time, the suppressive divine light in the Wiyao Tower directly took the Yulan saint, who was seriously injured and dying, and had not had time to recover, directly into the Wuya Tower. Transform into divine light! Yan Hao's face was expressionless as he stirred up the Wuya Tower. Suddenly, streaks of divine light began to appear in the Wuya Tower, and they continued to fall on the body of Saint Yulan. Just when Yan Hao finally suppressed Saintess Yulan and began to transform Saintess Yulan with the Wuya Tower, the entire Hades Palace suddenly began to tremble slightly. The practitioners in the Hades Hall have not felt too big yet. What happened? Is the Hades Palace finally going to disappear again? But the cultivators outside the Hades Hall felt the earth shaking. The forest of steels originally outside the Hades Hall began to break into pieces. The war corpses wandering in the forest of steels also fell one after another. This made many the practitioners subconsciously flew into the distance, thinking that the Hades Palace was going to disappear again. So, what is that? But at this moment, a cultivator who was relatively close to the Hades Palace, and whose cultivation had reached the king level, suddenly started to tremble all over and felt a terrifying oppression coming towards him. In his horrified eyes, above the majestic and deep Hades Palace, there was a giant hand, slowly stretching out, its fingers clasped on the roof of the Hades Palace. The scene was extremely weird. Great horror! The great terror has come! One after another, voices came from the mouths of many princes and kings near the Hades Palace. Just seeing that giant hand, they felt extremely trembling, and their hearts seemed to be crushed as the palm appeared above the Hades Palace. They want to run now. However, he found to his despair and helplessness that as the giant hand appeared at this moment, it was impossible to move at all. Lines of decaying death aura spread out very quickly, centered around the appearance of the giant hand. Soon it became entangled with these princes and kings. Ah! Someone screamed in fear. Someone was filled with the breath of death and despair and helplessness. The next moment, someone was entangled by the breath of death, and instantly turned into a series of similar gloomy ghosts. War corpses. These were killed by death. After the aura entangled, some people directly turned into war corpses on the spot. Such a discovery made more people despair. This place is only the 5th domain, and there is no great power at all. Just relying on their strength, they cannot get out of this place. Escaped from the extremely weird horror. What is this giant hand? Where does he come from? Outside the Hades Palace, panic boiled. In the Hades Palace, drastic changes are happening at the same time. The Hades Palace, which was originally like a honeycomb with crisscrossing corridors like a maze, is now trembling, corridors shattering and disappearing, and side palaces collapsing. Most of the cultivators in the Hades Palace are high-level monsters. They sensed the changes in the Hades Palace. Although they were equally frightened, they calmed down immediately, and wanted to rush out of the Hades Palace. But even the aura of death outside the Hades Palace was so strong. What's more, inside the Hades Palace? A thicker aura of death entangled towards the evil cultivators in the Hades Palace. The weaker evil cultivators with less tenacious minds were corrupted on the spot and became the guards of the Hades Palace, just like those cultivators who turned into war corpses outside the Hades Palace. What a powerful breath! At this time, Yan Hao naturally felt the change. He frowned and looked at the changes in all directions. He also felt the terror coming, but he didn't know what happened. There was also the aura of death, which was wrapping around him crazily at this moment. But Yang, the Yaoguang immortal peak that Hao has not recovered yet, once again exerts its magical effect. The surging sea of spiritual energy can wash away natural disasters and catastrophes, and at the same time, it can also disperse these death auras. Because of this, Yan Hao has more energy to observe changes in all directions. The corridor has completely disappeared. What is that? While flying in the Hades Palace, Yan Hao looked at the corridors in the Hades Palace that were completely broken. At the end of his eyes, a huge body suddenly appeared. This gray-brown body was trembling slowly at the moment. So strong! Yan Hao was shocked. Just seeing that huge body, he felt a terrifying aura coming towards him. Quasi-Emperor? Still the Emperor! His eyes shrank sharply, his face was heavy, and he made an astonishing guess. The terrifying aura coming towards him was much scarier than the aura that the Bingfeng patriarch had erupted in despair before his death. The Bingfeng ancestor was a sage. The aura erupted by the ancestor is even more terrifying, and can only be surpassed by saints. Because of this, he is extremely dignified. Every time he kills the protagonist, there will be extremely terrifying consequences. Last time, he killed Fang Lai, the entire Hualong dojo collapsed. This time it was even more exaggerated. They had just suppressed Saint Yulan, and the next moment the entire Hades Palace began to riot, and a person suspected of being a quasi-emperor or even a great emperor appeared. It was not caused by Saint Yulan, but it is absolutely inseparable from her. Yan Hao didn't even have time to find the Eternal Emperor's formation at this moment, and began to flee crazily. He knew very well that if that huge body attacked him, he would have no chance. The gap between realms was too big. This is simply it's not a matter of one realm and two realms, or one level and two levels. As Yan Hao ran, he had crazy deductions in his mind. But no matter how he deduced, he couldn't get it right, and he didn't know this. How did a huge body suddenly appear? The riot in Hades Palace continues to increase. That huge body gradually reveals more. He is moving. Although Yan Hao is escaping from Hades Palace, he always puts his mind on top of the huge body. He could clearly see this extremely huge body, which seemed to be slowly getting bigger. To be precise, it seems to be gradually standing up. Yan Hao's eyes flashed with horror. Just at a glance, under the space limitations of the Hades Palace, he couldn't see clearly how huge this huge body was. Surprisingly, this was not the full picture of the huge body. His body, how high is it? 1,000 meters? Or tens of thousands of meters? As time goes by, the vibrations in the Hades Palace become more and more intense. Arrived at the exit, Yan Hao felt relieved. Although the Underworld Palace is extremely weird inside, it is actually not difficult to leave. As long as you deliberately want to leave, you can always find the exit of the Underworld Palace. Otherwise, there would not be so many kings coming to explore. He flew out without hesitation and flew away at extremely fast speeds. Along the way, the aura of death was everywhere outside the Hades Palace, and more war corpses were transformed. This is... Yan Hao drove the shaking light immortal peak, bloomed a sea of spiritual energy, and appeared thousands of miles away. In the Hades Palace, under that giant hand, the huge body stood up completely. At this moment, Yan Hao finally saw the huge body clearly from a not too far distance away. It's incredibly tall, like a majestic mountain. The huge shadow almost covered everything within thousands of miles into darkness. This is a corpse. He has an ordinary face, but if he moves his limbs, he blocks out the sky. But he was completely lifeless. Those breaths of death are just the gas it breathes out. In addition to the aura of death, there is also endless ancient aura coming out of this corpse. Seeing this ancient corpse is like seeing history. But what caught Yan Hao's attention was the appearance of a familiar shadow on this huge body. The world's ancient tree! On the back of the ancient corpse, there was an ancient world tree rooted on it. But compared to the green and verdant world ancient tree that exuded rich vitality, this ancient world tree was rooted on the ancient corpse. But it shows a grayish-white color, and what is released is not the vitality of spiritual energy, but a steady stream of gray-brown deathly energy. Whose body is this? Was it awakened by the sprouting of the world's ancient trees? The moment Yan Hao saw the world ancient tree, he had a new guess. He knew the world ancient tree. He knew that with the continuous emergence of the world ancient tree, the great age was coming. This ancient corpse was the one who was killed by the world ancient tree. Will the tree wake up? The ancient corpse has already slowly walked out of the Hades Palace at this time. As the ancient corpse walked out of the Hades Palace formed into nothingness in an instant, disappearing from the ancient battlefield again. Boom! Boom! The dull sound of footsteps resounded throughout the fifth domain. Countless ancient legions were trampled into powder by this ancient corpse in an instant, and fled in a hurry. Just when the ancient corpse was about to leave the fifth domain, his footsteps suddenly stopped, as if he suddenly remembered something, and his eyes moved slightly, as if they were frozen in a certain place. The place where his eyes were fixed was exactly where Yan Hao was. Creepy. Stand on your head. Yan Hao was extremely shocked when he saw the ancient corpse looking at him inexplicably. He had no idea why the ancient corpse suddenly looked at him inexplicably. After being stared at by the ancient corpse for a few seconds, Yan Hao felt that 1,000 years had passed. Suddenly, a drop of gray-brown blood slowly seeped out from the heart of the huge ancient corpse. This gray-brown blood gradually changed color after leaving the ancient corpse, from gray-brown to light yellow, and from light yellow to amber. When the distance of tens of thousands of miles fell on Yan Hao, the color had gradually turned from amber to golden yellow. Is this given to me? Yan Hao sensed this drop of blood coming from across the air. He couldn't avoid it, and it sank directly into his body. He sensed a familiar aura on this drop of heart blood seeping out from the ancient corpse. It seemed, together with him. Not good! At this moment, Yan Hao's expression changed drastically. After this drop of golden blood from the ancient corpse was integrated into his body, his entire sea of spiritual energy began to boil crazily. He immediately took action and began to suppress the sea of spiritual energy. Yan Hao knew very well that if the sea of spiritual energy continued to boil, it would most likely cause his whole body to go completely berserk. And just when Yan Hao was suppressing his sea of spiritual energy, he suddenly gave Yan Hao a drop of his heart's blood. The ancient corpse seemed to have nothing happened. Without even looking at Yan Hao, it walked out of the fifth domain of the ancient battlefield. Then, this ancient corpse stepped directly through the space of the ancient battlefield and appeared directly in Ziweide. Above the star, an incomparably huge body and a breath that covers the sky appeared. Suddenly, many supreme beings reacted. For a moment, the world was shocked. The ancient corpse walked out of the supreme battlefield, without stopping, and walked westward as if there was no one around. No matter whether there are mountains, rivers, lakes, seas, or immortal sect holy land in front of them, the ancient corpse seems to be walking directly forward as if it were on flat ground. Naturally, it attracted too many people's attention. There is no way, this ancient corpse is too huge. The smell is also terrifying. Although after entering the Ziwei star, the aura of death that he breathed out was greatly reduced by the strong spiritual energy tide, many creatures were still turned into war corpses while traveling westward. But what is surprising is that some ordinary people or practitioners with low strength are not affected. What is this? Run away! If you don't leave, it will be all over. Practitioners with low strength only focus on running for their lives. They don't care about the origin of the ancient corpse at all, and they have no right to care about the origin of the ancient corpse. They just run away out of instinctive fear. Don't talk about these lowly practitioners. Even the princes, kings, and powerful beings who built the foundation watched in horror as the ancient corpses walked westward. After the ancient corpses passed by, the scene of thousands of miles of red ground was something they would never forget. The Emperor is born? No, although the breath is the breath of the great Emperor, it is not alive. This is the Emperor's corpse. Although he is not a great Emperor, he is enough to overpower the quasi-Emperor. When he wakes up from the supreme battlefield, where will he go? Which Emperor is he? Is he regaining consciousness? Finally, many powerful people appeared. They all paid attention to the rampant ancient corpses and the relatively weak practitioners. These old monsters and living fossils who had lived for countless years could see the strength of the ancient corpses at a glance. This is an imperial corpse. An imperial corpse capable of overpowering a quasi-emperor. In this era when there is no emperor in the world, the emergence of an emperor's corpse means that he is invincible. Even though there are many powerful people hiding in Ziwei Star, no one dares to step out at this moment to intercept the ancient corpse's westward journey. They were just guessing whose body this emperor's corpse belonged to. Where are you going? This breath. Could it be that this is the body of Emperor Jiuyu? Is there a world-ancient tree on his back? At this time, a peerless holy lord among the eternal emperors walked out. Her eyes were like a god. She saw the ancient corpse from hundreds of millions of miles away, with doubts in her eyes. It was not like Yang Hao only had a 9-nether prison suppressing technique. Holy Lord, after a life of nearly death, she received an inheritance from Emperor Jiuyu. Because of this, the Holy Master sensed a familiar aura from the ancient corpse at this moment, allowing her to guess the identity of the ancient corpse. Although she was not completely sure, the Holy Master still it is very likely that the ancient corpse is the corpse of Emperor Jiuyu. Was it the little guy who made the noise? There was a hint of worry in the Holy Master's brows, and she looked in the direction of the ancient battlefield. She knew that the ancient corpse came out of the ancient battlefield. Although the ancient battlefield was extremely vast, the Holy Master still instinctively believed that the Emperor's corpse appeared and was related to Yang Hao. Inseparable. It should be the corpse of Emperor Jiuyu. It may also be the corpse of Emperor Wuyo. He has now arrived at the Valley of Final Smoke. Going further. Hanga Pass. This Emperor's corpse will leave Hanga Pass in the west and embark on the ancient road to the stars. One by one, the most powerful people paid attention to the walking of the Emperor's corpse, and many living fossils among them also analyzed various clues to determine the identity of the Emperor's corpse. Most of the most powerful people believe that this Emperor's corpse is either that of Emperor Jiuyu, or that of another Emperor Wuyo. But what made them feel a little relieved was that the Emperor's corpse did not stop at Ziwei Star, but gradually moved towards Hanga Pass. Hanga Pass is the starting point of the Ziwei Daxinkong Ancient Road. Once you walk out of Hanga Pass, you will step into the ancient road of the starry sky. Once it was confirmed that this Emperor's corpse, which was so powerful that even the quasi-emperor could overwhelm him, would enter the ancient road of the starry sky, many of the most powerful people breathed a silent sigh of relief. If an emperor's corpse is always present on Ziwei Star, it will undoubtedly be a terrible deterrent to them. Next, as expected by these powerful men, the destination of this emperor's corpse was indeed the ancient starry sky road behind Hanga Pass. It didn't stop for a step, directly crossed Hanga Pass and stepped into the ancient road of the starry sky. After seeing the emperor's corpse leave, many of the most powerful people were curious, but most of them hid themselves again. There are only a small number of the most powerful people. They follow in the footsteps of the emperor's corpse and embark on the ancient road in the starry sky together, hoping to pry into some secrets. In the ancient battlefield, as the emperor's corpse left, the Hades Palace disappeared, and peace returned again. Many cultivators who entered were constantly exploring opportunities in the ancient battlefield. The natural disasters, ancient beasts and ancient legions in the ancient battlefield are still endless and endless. More than 2 years have passed in a flash. Earned 1,000,000 points for suppressing the essence and blood of the great emperor. Gained 1,000,000 points for suppressing the essence and blood of the great emperor. Under a sand dune in the 5th domain, a figure gradually opened its eyes. Call! Yang Hao exhaled a breath of turbid air, and all the broken sand was completely shattered. There was a hint of joy in his eyes. This time, it can be regarded as the end of all hardships. 2 years ago, he witnessed the Hades Palace shaking and the ancient corpse being born. He finally escaped, but he didn't expect that when the ancient corpse was about to leave the ancient battlefield, it would actually give him a drop of his heart's blood. More, what he didn't expect was that this drop of blood would be shown on the system's panel income record as the blood essence of the emperor. This meant that the ancient corpse was indeed an emperor's corpse. No wonder it shocked him so much. That is to say, my divine body is extremely powerful, and the sea of spiritual energy is as vast as the universe. If it were an ordinary person, even the top 10 on the immortal physique ranking, they might not be able to withstand that drop of blood essence. Yang Hao was a little shocked. He recalled that day when the sea of spiritual energy boiled in his body. It took him more than 2 years to completely suppress the sea of spiritual energy. However, because of this, I also received huge benefits. Yang Hao's eyes were shining, and he looked at the sea of spiritual energy in his body. There was a star as red as the sun rotating quietly in the sea of spiritual energy in his body. This sun star is the drop of the Emperor's essence and blood. This drop of the Emperor's essence and blood was completely suppressed by me. Once I am promoted to the king, I can use this drop of the Emperor's essence and blood as the material of the formation I to condense the supreme killing formation. A drop of formation I made of the Emperor's essence and blood. Yan Hao can already imagine how terrifying the supreme killing formation he will condense will be. In addition, this drop of blood of the great Emperor clearly contains a large amount of information. Unfortunately, with my current strength, I can only barely suppress this drop of blood essence of the great Emperor, but it is extremely difficult to understand the information contained in it. Yan Hao smiled bitterly. The power of the Emperor's essence and blood was so terrifying that he couldn't even ask the Holy Master to help him break it. Once it was broken, the essence and blood energy inside would explode, and the power would definitely be even more terrifying than before. But it may not be possible to suppress it again. You can only wait until you become a king, or even a powerful one, and then break open this drop of the Emperor's essence and blood to see what information is contained in it. The current drop of the Emperor's essence and blood is like a sophisticated electronic instrument before time travel. It can be used, but if you want to understand the inner principles, it's useless. Except for this drop of the Emperor's essence and blood that I suppress. The biggest reward is actually points. Yan Hao felt the change in himself at this moment, and he was still shocked in his heart. He has now reached the 7th heaven of formation. This is because he has been too busy suppressing the Emperor's essence and blood in the past 2 years. Otherwise, he would have already reached the 9th level of formation. In a short time, in just 2 years, still in a state of distraction, the fundamental reason why he surpassed the ordinary princes who need to practice for dozens or even hundreds of years is the points. He got a lot of points. Suppressing the essence and blood of the great Emperor, he was able to do it almost every day. Yan Hao provided income nearly 10 times. In addition to the various trivial points income during practice. In the beginning, he could get nearly 100 million points almost every 10 days. Then as time went by, the points he got became crazy. Increasingly. 500 million. 800 million. 1 billion. After practicing here for more than 900 days, his points have skyrocketed to nearly 100 billion points. Pity. I used to think that the system's points increased over time, but now it seems that the system's points increase is based on my level. Yan Hao sighed with emotion. If the system's points increase according to time, he might have become the king in 2 years. But even so, Yan Hao relied on this crazy squandering of nearly 100 billion points to almost fill his body. All of his spiritual power is continuously generating a large number of blank spiritual energy runes. The reason why he is only in the 7th heaven now is because even if he has no brains and uses his empty energy, aura runes to map, but he also needs a lot of time to visualize. Not only that, Yan Hao also added points to other panel projects like crazy. All his supreme magical powers have been completely promoted to the highest level. The semi-god level secret technique of Jiuyo prison suppression was achieved by him. The time pattern was upgraded by him. The supreme immortal bone was also upgraded by him. The combat power has fully increased. At this moment, Yan Hao's combat power is almost several times that of 2 years ago. If he meets Saint Yulan again, Yan Hao is confident that he can kill her in an instant. Correct. Saint Yulan must have completely transformed. Yan Hao suddenly seemed to have thought of something, and his mind sank into the Wuyat Tower. More than 2 years ago, Yan Hao suppressed Saint Yulan and entered Wuyat Tower. After transforming into divine light, he began to crazily wash away the holy maiden of Yulan. The heroine deserves to be a heroine. Previously in the Holy Land, the subordinate who persisted longest in the Wuyat Tower was converted in less than half a day. Saint Yulan actually persisted in Wuyat Tower for more than a month. Yan Hao lamented the extraordinary character of Saint Yulan. Once suppressed by the Wuyat Tower, the divine light will definitely be able to successfully transform the suppressed person. However, how long it takes to transform depends on the suppressed person. the character and will of the mind. For example, in the Holy Land, the subordinates of the Yaoguang Holy Sun, and the former Taixin king, were all weak in character and will. They soon lost themselves under the wash of the divine light of transformation. Completely she was transformed. But Saint Yulan is different. She has an extremely tough character, and has a big secret. When Yang Hao brought Saint Yulan into the Wuya Tower, the divine light of transformation washed away Saint Yulan. Within a month, most of the divine light was dissipated by the mysterious halo emitted by Saint Yulan. However, even Saintess Yulan could not release the mysterious halo all the time. Even so, she still managed to carry herself in the Wuya Tower for a long time with her extraordinary character and will. So much so that later on, Yang Hao was too busy suppressing the Emperor's blood essence and cultivation to pay attention to Saint Yulan anymore. Finally today Yang Hao, after Hao completely suppressed the Emperor's essence and blood, he remembered the Saint Yulan who was still being baptized by the divine light of transformation in Wuya Tower. Facing this former confidant of his, Yang Hao still had expectations. He really wanted to know what secrets there are in Saint Yulan. Especially the mysterious halo released by Saint Yulan that can break all laws. While looking forward to it, Yang Hao sank his mind into the Wuya Tower. In Wuya Tower in the Pagoda, Saint Yulan, who has long snow-white hair and looks like an iceberg, is sitting cross-legged. Compared to how miserable she was when she was suppressed, Saint Yulan's energy and spirit are extremely powerful at this moment. She seems to be practicing. 2 years have passed, and the aura of Saint Yulan has become more powerful than before. The negative impact of the previous burning lifespan seems to have been completely resolved by her. It's done! Yang Hao discovered that the divine light of transformation had stopped, and he could sense that an inseparable connection had been formed between him and Saint Yulan. He knew that at some point, Saint Yulan had been completely destroyed. Duhua Shengguang Duhua has completely become his most loyal follower. It is precisely because of this that Wuya Tower can let Saint Yulan practice. Yang Hao released Saint Yulan from Wuya Tower without thinking. Saintess Yulan, who was originally immersed in her practice, looked at everything around her with slight surprise. Feeling the thin spiritual energy coming from the ancient battlefield, she knew that she had walked out of the Wuya Tower. Met the owner. She looked at Yang Hao with complicated eyes and said with great respect. After being transformed in Wuya Tower, Saint Yulan naturally knew the identity of Yang Hao. The divine light of transformation only made Saintess Yulan transform into she was extremely loyal, but it would not change other thoughts of Saint Yulan. Therefore, Saint Yulan finally understood why Yang Hao was so persistent in killing her. Everything was provoked by herself in advance. She did not do it at all. Thinking that just a random letter of challenge, he would actually provoke a shocking enemy for himself. Unfortunately, even if he understood it, it would be useless. Saint Yulan has completely surrendered and can only obey Yang Haoyan. Yang Hao wants Yulan to she has to do whatever the saint does. She no longer has any freedom at all. Tell me all your secrets. Yang Hao didn't have any pity for Saint Yulan's situation at the moment. If he hadn't taken decisive action that day, given Saint Yulan's situation, he would probably have been suppressed by her. The winner is the king, the loser is the bandit. He won today, so he would naturally reap the fruits of victory. He looked at Saint Yulan and ordered without hesitation. Yes. After hearing this, Saint Yulan immediately began to tell Yang Hao her secret. As Saint Yulan slowly told her story, Yang Hao gradually became enlightened and understood the mystery of Saint Yulan that he was most curious about. What is Halo? A little destiny spell? It's really an amazing talent. Yang Hao murmured to himself. The mysterious halo of Saint Yulan that can break through all kinds of magic is called the Little Destiny Technique by her. This Little Destiny Technique, as Yang Hao had guessed before, is neither a magical power nor a kung fu. Laws and tactics are a kind of talent. A kind of innate talent. It can break all magic and eliminate all spiritual power. Combined with the chaotic fairy body of Saint Yulan, it is really terrifying. Reincarnated strong man. Yang Hao looked deeply at Saint Yulan in front of him. According to what she said, Saint Yulan was the reincarnation of a powerful being in her previous life. This is also the biggest secret of Saint Yulan. Unfortunately, even the identity of Saint Yulan in her previous life is unknown. The only thing that can be determined is that she was very powerful in her previous life. Maybe she was a quasi-emperor, maybe a great emperor. According to Saint Yulan, only when she becomes stronger to a certain extent, a memory will be revived. It is precisely because of her previous life that Saint Yulan is born with such an extremely powerful talent. Pity. Yang Hao was a little regretful. He was envious of Saint Yulan's little destiny spell. If it weren't for the existence of the little destiny spell, his magical power would not be ineffective. At that time, he could easily kill Saint Yulan. Okay. Now, the current result is not bad. Saint Yulan has been completely transformed by him, and it is impossible for her to lie to herself. Moreover, Yang Hao is not worried that Saint Yulan will be able to break free from the control of Wuya Tower as her memory recovers. There is no end to the sea of suffering, and turning back is the end. Now that you have reached the other side, how can you turn back? When Yang Hao got the Wuya Tower, he knew based on the information left by the Yongxing Emperor that even if the Emperor was transformed by the Wuya Tower, he would not be able to get rid of it. Only, however, when he reached the realm of the Great Emperor, he had already transcended and would not let the Yongxing Emperor use the Wuya Tower to transform. Not being able to transform into a Great Emperor was a regret in the life of the Yongxing Emperor. Therefore, not only did Yang Hao not know the origin of Saint Yulan feeling worried, but looking forward to the fact that Saint Yulan will continue to grow stronger. If he is really the reincarnation of a great emperor, then he will be able to have a loyal subordinate with the power of the emperor in the future. In addition to confessing her biggest secret, Saint Yulan, and also revealed many secrets. There are a large number of mysterious treasures in secret places, and there are ruins of semi-god level exercises. These are all known from her memories before reincarnation. Now, they are all explained to Yang Hao. However, Yang Hao was not very interested in these things. He told Saint Yulan, "Yulan, you can return to the holy land of Yin and Yang on your own. You can explore those secret places on your own. If your memory comes back, or if you get any chance, leave it to me." Kindness. Saint Yulan nodded, but after a moment of silence she said seriously to Yang Hao, "Master, Yulan is just my title. You can just call me Qingning." Good. Yang Hao smiled. He remembered that Saint Yulan seemed to be called Fang Qingning. He did not intend to imprison Fang Qingning in Wuya Tower all the time. Although Fang Qingning has been transformed by her, her luck is still there. Let her stay outside. Traveling around and constantly gaining opportunities is far more useful than imprisoning Fang Qingning. The Yinyang Holy Land is also one of the most powerful holy lands of Ziwei Star. Letting Fang Qingning return will not only allow her to grow, but also be able to continuously reap benefits from the Yinyang Holy Land. For yourself. It would be a waste to put such a good chess piece in the Wuya Tower. Maybe it can have a miraculous effect at a critical moment. After all, who would have thought that Fang Qingning, a peerless genius, has secretly become his absolute a loyal follower? Fang Qingning left. Under Yang Hao's order, he left the ancient battlefield and returned to the holy land of Yin and Yang. It will be nearly a month before I can leave the ancient battlefield. Yang Hao sensed the spatial mark of the ancient battlefield brand on his body. After more than 2 years, it has become extremely shallow. In 2 months, he will be able to leave the ancient battlefield and return to eternal life. Holy place. Did I forget something? Yang Hao touched his chin, thought for a moment, and suddenly remembered. Correct. The formation eye of the Eternal Emperor. I don't know if it is still in the Hades Palace or if it was snatched away. Yang Hao suddenly remembered that he came to the ancient battlefield for another purpose, which was to find the formation eye left by the Eternal Emperor. The last time he saw the formation eye was when he was fighting Fang Qingning, and Fang Qingning threw the formation eye into the underworld. In a corridor of the temple. Now more than 2 years have passed, but he doesn't know where he went. Yang Hao began to sense the chance and guiding light in Wuya Tower. he decided to go and investigate first. If it is in the Palace of Hades is troublesome. After all, the Palace of Hades appears and disappears on the ancient battlefield. Even if he follows the Emperor's guidance to the destination, there is nothing he can do about the Palace of Hades hidden in space. I can only pray that it will be taken away from me, Yang Hao murmured to himself, and began to follow the chance-guiding light in Wiyat Tower, and fly away in a certain direction. Formation I, behind the 6th domain? Yang Hao was looking at the white horizon at the end of the sky in front of him. It was the boundary between the 6th domain and the 7th domain. He followed the opportunity to guide the divine light, and traveled from the 5th domain to the 6th domain. Even though sometimes, although he used the magical power of great luck, he still encountered many dangers while walking alone. But even more than 2 years ago, Yang Hao could easily kill ordinary high-level warriors, let alone now. Neither the natural disasters nor the ancient legions in the middle 3 domains posed any threat to Yang Hao. However, when Yang Hao came to the boundary between the 6th and 7th domains, he still couldn't help but mutter in his heart, "What the hell?" He couldn't really be lost in the Palace of Hades, could he? Only the Hades Palace will appear randomly among the 9 domains. Even so, Yang Hao still plans to go and find out. After all, there are still nearly 2 months to stay in the ancient battlefield. Compared with the previous 3 domains, going to the middle 3 realms is different, but there is no need to form a team when going to the last 3 realms. After all, powerful men can already take charge of their own affairs, involving the way of space. Therefore, there are simply no space passages in the last 3 realms, and you can enter directly by traveling through the space. Yes. Although Yang Hao is only a prince, there is a powerful emperor's relic in his Wiyat Tower. It was restricted by the rules in the Hades Palace and could not be sacrificed. Now it comes in handy. Yang Hao controls the emperor's relic. Soul easily entered the 7th domain. No wonder only mighty can find opportunities in the last 3 realms. After Yang Hao entered the 7th domain, he discovered that in the last 3 domains of the ancient battlefield, natural disasters and catastrophes broke out all the time. What's even more frightening is that there are ancient legions everywhere, and hundreds of figures gather everywhere. An extremely rare ancient warrior in the 3 middle regions also appears from time to time. There are even more terrifying things. Yang Hao glanced at the distance, and he was keenly aware of an extremely terrifying aura. That aura was far beyond that of ancient warriors, and was at least a terrifying creature at the supreme power level. Although Yang Hao was not afraid, but his purpose was clear, and he did not go to investigate. Instead, he continued to follow the divine light guided by opportunity and headed forward. He flew to the edge of the 7th domain. When Yang Hao thought he would directly enter the 8th domain, chance the divine light finally stopped flickering. It's here? Yang Hao searched with all his eyes. Just when he thought that the formation I was really lost in the Hades Palace, he suddenly saw a familiar figure at the end of the west. Holy Son of Dongbo. Yang Hao's eyes flashed. He did not expect to encounter Dongbua Saint. That day in the Hades Palace, Dongbua Saint was clearly assassinated by Lu Yen and was seriously injured. If he hadn't attacked Fang Qingying, Dongbua Saint would not have been killed. The son would be beheaded by Fang Qingying on the spot. Later, he went to chase Fang Qingying, and the Holy Son Dongbua was also chased by Lu Yen. But obviously, the Holy Son Dongbua not only did not fall, but also seemed to be still in the ancient battlefield given the opportunity. He has achieved great power. In his eyes, Holy Son Dongbua is fighting with a 7-feathered flying snake that exudes a terrifying aura. The 7-feathered flying snake that is fighting with Holy Son Dongbua is obviously an ancient alien species with strong strength. It is extremely powerful. According to Yang Hao's estimation, it has at least invincible combat power. However, the battle between the 2 sides did not cause much fierce commotion, because Dongbua Xingzi almost slaughtered the 7-feathered flying snake head-on. Holy Son Dongbua is releasing a terrifying killing array at this moment, with an ancient and majestic aura. Every time a rune is stirred up, the 7-feathered flying snake spurts out a stream of blood in a miserable manner. The strength of the heaven-defying Almighty is indeed very powerful. Yang Hao looked at the fighting figure of Holy Sun Dongbua, but nodded secretly. Holy Sun Dongbua is the chief Holy Sun of the Holy Land of Creation. The genius who can become the chief Holy Sun is naturally of a heaven-defying rank. At this moment, Saint Dongbua, now that Z has been promoted, he must have become a heaven-defying power. There is really nothing strange about a heaven-defying power crushing this ancient alien species that is only at the invincible level. However, Yang Hao only glanced briefly, and then his eyes fell on the killing array launched by Dongbua Saint's son. This killing formation is more than 10 times more powerful than before? He once saw Holy Sun Dongbua using his killing array to kill Fan Qingying in the side hall of the underworld. At that time, Yang Hao also lamented that Holy Sun Dongbua's killing array was like a small world. Unexpectedly, it had only been more than 2 years. As time passed, the killing array of Holy Sun Dongbua became more than 10 times more powerful. The light of opportunity stops here. It seems that the formation I was obtained by this Dongbo Holy Sun. There is some luck. Yang Hao saw that Holy Sun Dongbo had almost killed the ancient alien species at this moment, but he gradually understood. Who can become the chief Holy Sun of the Holy Land? Who is not a genius with unlucky luck and evil talent? It's just that Yang Hao didn't. What comes to mind is that the Holy Sun of Dongbua, who was almost seriously injured and dying that day, not only did not die, but also managed to survive and get the eyes of the Eternal Emperor. It can only be said that he was lucky. In this way, Lu Yen should have died that day. Pity. Yang Hao shook his head. Since Holy Sun Dongbo has not died and is still stronger, Lu Yen, who was chasing Sun Dongbo, may have died. He just sighed, and then planned to attack Holy Sun Dongbo directly. Yang Hao has already seen that the formation of the Immortal Emperor has been refined by Dongbua Holy Sun. The opponent is also a peerless genius, not to mention that it has been refined. Even if it is not refined, how can the opponent give up the Emperor's inheritance? The only option for the opponent to hand over their formation is a big battle. But Yang Hao doesn't mind. He may be very powerful, but he also wants to try his strength at this moment. A battle is unavoidable. Yang Hao simply went directly towards Dongbua Saint Sun. At this time, Dongbua Saint Sun had just prepared a killing array to kill the ancient alien species. It was the time when he was full of murderous intent and satisfied with his ambition. But Yang Hao didn't care. He said to Holy Sun Dongbua, "Hello? Please give me my stuff back." Yang Hao's smile is warm, his white clothes are whiter than snow, and his demeanor is graceful. "What?" The words behind the words made Holy Sun Dongbua startled. "It's you." Xingzi Dongbua looked at Yang Hao's figure and recognized it instantly. Although he was in a state of embarrassment that day, his perception was naturally powerful at this level. He saw with his own eyes that Yang Hao took action and directly beat Saint Yulan. What a miserable scene! Want to inherit the great Emperor's inheritance? It's already too late, it has already merged with my killing array. Hand over all the treasures you have and I will spare your life. Although he recognized Yang Hao, Holy Sun Dongbua didn't pay attention, and even threatened Yang Hao immediately. One moment and another. In the eyes of Holy Sun Dongbua, although the body of the young man in white in front of him is extremely powerful, he was even able to forcefully suppress Saintess Yulan, but he was not stupid. After careful analysis, he knew that Yang Hao must have watched Saintess Yulan's flaws before being able to suppress him. In terms of true strength, even a heaven-defying prince could suppress him. The heaven-defying king is indeed terrifying and can be called a peerless monster. But if it were him 2 years ago, he might be a little more fearful. Now, he has been inherited by the great emperor, and has achieved the heaven-defying power. His strength has increased even more than 2 years ago. I don't know how many times. This young man in white who dared to pursue him to the 7th domain to ask for the inheritance of the great emperor was too arrogant, and completely ignorant in the eyes of Holy Sun Dongbua. He immediately threatened Yang Hao without hesitation, his eyes full of murderous intention. He also had a movement in his heart. The king who suppressed the heaven-defying king, although he found a flaw, the powerful physical power, even he felt amazing. Killing such a man in a dangerous place, the peerless monster, is also a great opportunity in the eyes of Saint Sun Donghua. He. When Yang Hao heard this, he was not surprised. All geniuses are extremely confident, even arrogant. Because they are strong enough, the opportunities they get are beyond the imagination of ordinary people. Therefore, they have the capital of arrogance. If this is the case, then disintegrate your killing formation and you can naturally get it back. Yang Hao responded lightly. The same is true for him. Is Donghua Saint Sun very strong? He is confident that he is stronger than Donghua Saint Sun. Therefore, his response is even more domineering. Disintegrating a powerful Qianxin, a killing formation formed by all the pain? That is undoubtedly more painful than killing a powerful person. This is an absolute provocation. Court death! Holy Sun Donghua felt insulted when he heard this. If it were a heaven-defying power at the same level, he would still be able to understand. How could a mere prince, no matter how monstrous, turn the world upside down? Today I will break every inch of your muscles and bones, pull out your Taoist patterns, and shatter your spiritual sea! Xingzi Donghua shouted sternly. With a ferocious smile, he directed the killing formation that had not been withdrawn directly towards Yang Hao. In his opinion, the other party was really stupid. He actually dared to attack Yang Hao when he had already used the supreme killing formation, provoking him. He could already imagine the scene where the young man in white was instantly enveloped by his killing array and was instantly wiped out into a human stick. But Holy Sun Donghua simply could not imagine that the killing array that was waiting for him enveloped Yang Hao. What greeted him was 60 supreme supernatural powers. The seventh domain. A scorched earth. Between heaven and earth, even the surging natural disasters and earthly tribulations were shattered. No! Impossible! Why do you have so many magical powers? Your runes! An extremely shrill roar came. The Holy Son of Donghua was defeated. A heaven-defying power, when he launched a supreme killing formation that contained the inheritance of the great emperor, he didn't even last for half an hour, and was defeated like a torrent. If the emperor's formation eye falls on your hand, it can be regarded as a pearl covered in dust. Yang Hao glanced at the extremely miserable Saint Donghua, but said casually. He stepped forward, and in front of him was the shattered supreme killing formation of Saint Donghua. One hand reached in without hesitation. Within the supreme killing formation, it seems that they don't care at all about the terrifying murderous intent that comes from time to time. This supreme formation is clearly just the terrifying murderous intent that escapes, and it can easily kill the King of Defiance. But killing the impact of the intention on Yang Hao's arm did not leave even a trace of scar. As for the other supreme killing power that this originally supposed to be extremely terrifying supreme killing formation can burst out at this moment, it does not exist. Dong Bo Xing Sun, at this moment, his body is covered with scars, and it is difficult to even gather his spiritual power. How can he stir up the supreme killing array to kill Yang Hao? No! Don't want! The shrill roar of the Holy Sun Donghua came again. His eyes were wide open, and his wolfish cheeks were completely twisted. He could clearly sense that this monster that appeared from nowhere had touched him with only the strength of his physical body. The core of the supreme killing formation. There, in addition to the formation I inherited by the great emperor, there are also various essences of hard work that he has continuously integrated into his lifelong practice. Now they will all fall apart. Donghua Saint Sun has infinite heart regret arose. If he had known this, he would have sacrificed his vitality to give up the inheritance of the emperor with both hands. At least he could retain the foundation. But it was impossible. There were not so many what-ifs. Who could have thought that a heaven-defying prince could actually crossing two great realms? He easily defeated this extremely powerful and heaven-defying power. In the mind of Holy Sun Donghua, the scene of the battle with the boy in white was still circulating. A total of 60 magical powers suddenly came. They all have supreme magical powers. At that moment, Holy Sun Dongbua thought he had hallucinated. However, when he was scarred, he realized that there really are people in the world who have so many supreme magical powers. It's even too late to think about why. Because in addition to the magical power of the sea, the opponent also shot hundreds of extremely powerful runes of all things. In the past, Holy Sun Dongbua would not have believed that someone could use the uncondensed, the all-creating runes of the killing array completely defeated the supreme killing array that he was proud of. Each of those all-creating runes was outrageously powerful. Each one of them reflected something that had never been seen before. Horrible creature. At this time, Dongbua Holy Sun completely collapsed. The belief in invincibility he had cultivated since childhood collapsed like an avalanche. Please! I will leave the inheritance of the great emperor to you. Leave a foundation for me. I will never go against you in the future, and I will never tell your secrets even to the death. Xingzi Dongbua felt that his supreme killing formation had begun to collapse. That hand had already grasped his formation eye. He could already see that the next moment, this hand would ruthlessly and brutally he grabbed the formation eye by force. Holy Sun Dongbua went completely crazy. He was crying, he was begging for mercy. Feel sorry. Most of the people who knew my secret were dead. But I heard Yan Hao say in a friendly tone. However, endless power came from his hands, and he twisted out the formation eye of Holy Sun Dongbo. Ah! Holy Sun Dongbo, a heaven-defying power, let out the most miserable howl in his life. The supreme killing formation he had worked hard to build for countless years was shattered at this moment, as the formation's eyes shattered. Devil! You are the devil! Holy Sun Dongbua was sweating like rain. He knew that he was completely useless. At this time, his sea of spiritual energy surged like a tsunami, completely smashing his limbs and bones. His realm was falling. King, Prince, Qi and blood. Not to mention his rank, even at this moment, his face is starting to look older. Practiced to become a god-defying power. Even though Holy Sun Dongbua is an unparalleled genius, he has practiced for more than 100 years at this moment. I'm not a demon, I'm just an ordinary villain. Yan Hao looked at the fall of Holy Sun Dongbo. He said softly, and removed all the messy impurities of Holy Sun Dongbo from the formation in his hand, and then put it into his sea of spiritual energy. When he raised his head again, he found that Dongbo I don't know when Uncle Xingzi died. He became silent and aged. Time is really terrible. Yan Hao shook his head. With the longevity of Holy Sun Dongbo, in fact, even if he ages, he will not die of old age. But just now when he fought against Holy Sun Dongbo, he used the divine sword of time and defeated Holy Sun Dongbo alive. Decades of life have been shaved off. Originally, to the young Holy Sun Dongbua, decades of life were nothing. But when his realm fell, it became the straw that broke the camel's back. Pity. Your status as the creator of the Holy Land may have some effect. Yan Hao looked at the body of Holy Sun Dongbo, and with a flick of his finger, Holy Sun Dongbo was instantly wiped out. If Holy Sun Dongbo hadn't integrated his formation eyes into his own killing formation, he might have killed Dongbo Holy Sun. The sun was transferred to the Wuya Pagoda for transformation. But Dongbua's Saint Sun had already merged with the formation eye, so he had to forcefully collect it for the formation eye. Dongbua's Saint Sun, whose realm had fallen and lost his foundation, naturally had no value anymore. Finally got it. There is less than half a month left. Next, let's find a quiet place and study the Immortal Emperor's formation. Yan Hao sensed the spatial mark engraved on his body, and then made a decision. Just when Yan Hao was about to walk out of the ancient battlefield, the Ziwei star suddenly became turbulent and lively. Because the list of geniuses has been updated. The Tianjiao list is a list of Tianjiao with a lifespan of less than 500 years produced by Tiantong Holy Land. Anyone who is a practitioner of Ziwei Star knows very well that there is a Holy Land on Ziwei Star who is keen on collecting information Tiantong Holy Land. Although the Tiantong Holy Land is located on the Ziwei Star and is not considered one of the top Holy Lands, it is a Holy Land after all and has many underlying qualities. They update the major lists every 10 years. On this day, which happens to be the 10-year period, Tiantong Holy Land updated the major lists. Most of the lists haven't changed much. But many people were surprised to find that the Tianjiao list had undergone earth-shaking changes. First place, Lord Longshan. Second place, Sky Demon King. Fifth place, Holy Son of Fluctuating Light. Sixth place, Holy Lady of Yulan. 18th place, Shao Qing'er. 19th place, don't forget the Holy Sun. Number 100, Saint Tianji. Everyone looked at this list of geniuses and started talking about it. Is this Holy Son of Shaking Light the same Holy Son who lives in the Holy Land of Eternal Life? How could he suddenly reach 5th place on the list of geniuses? The top 10 are all at least extremely powerful. Yes, I have investigated and found out that Holy Son of Light is very young, not even 50 years old. Not only the Holy Son of Fluttering Light, but also the Saint of Yulan is the first time I have seen this saint. I know that this saint has amazing strength. She has conquered many kings, but I can't remember the prince level. Is this what she got recently? Opportunity is so far ahead. There is also Shao Qing'er in the 18th position, who is also a new face. The Holy Land of Eternal Life is so powerful. Among the 100 geniuses, not only the first place is occupied by the Holy Land of Eternal Life, but there are 2 people among the top 10. The Mingzuan, who is ranked 11th, is also the Holy Son of Heavenly Power of the Holy Land of Eternal Life. Discussions about the Tianjiao list continued to sound in the major dynasties, immortal sects, and holy places in Ziwei Star. Tiantong Holy Land has been publishing lists continuously for more than 10,000 years, and no one doubts the accuracy of the lists. More people are just surprised. At this moment, in the Holy Land of Creation, an elder of the Holy Land of Creation touched his chin and looked at the list of geniuses with a strange expression. Who is this Holy Son of Light? If I remember correctly, the Holy Land of Eternal Life did indeed have a useless Holy Son called Zhaoguang, but he was killed by the demon Fan Lai a long time ago. Strange, why is Fan Lai missing? He should be in the top 50 on this issue's list of geniuses. The only thing that hasn't changed is that Dong Bo is not on the list. That little guy should have been killed by Saint Yuan on the ancient battlefield, right? The elder of the Holy Land of Creation named Lin Feng was a little troubled. He was reborn and dormant for so many years, and finally made a breakthrough. Before the advent of the big world, he became a giant. Compared with the previous life, the progress was many times faster. Now he is about to prepare for a big fight. But Lin Feng discovered that just now, the history he knew seemed to have undergone subtle changes. Is it because of the impact of my rebirth? But it doesn't matter. I remember all the adventures I will have in the next 5,000 years. There are always things that will not change. Who could have imagined that the real world is about to come? Jiang Wu, should she still be the Holy Master of the Holy Land now, right? In the last life, you killed me to prove the truth. I don't blame you. But in this life, I have the upper hand and am ahead every step of the way. Maybe we can become Taoist couples. Lin Feng murmured to himself, recalling countless memories before rebirth in his mind. Lin Feng, an inner disciple of the Holy Land of Creation in his previous life, was extremely talented. Later, a large number of ancient trees in the world appeared on Ziwei Star. The spiritual energy was revived and the Great Age came. In addition, his luck was pretty good. This young man who was originally just an inner disciple rose up like a comet, even for a time. The sun who transcends the Holy Land of Creation. It has lasted 5,000 years in the great world where spiritual energy has been revived. Lin Feng finally became a late bloomer, achieved enlightenment, broke through to the sage realm, and became a quasi-emperor. Although there were many quasi-emperors at that time, they were still the most powerful in the world. Unfortunately, at the end of his journey to enlightenment, Lin Feng encountered the most magnificent empress, Jiang Wu. In Lin Feng's memory, this powerful being, who was the Holy Lord of the Eternal Holy Land 5,000 years ago, encountered great changes. Not only was his position as Holy Lord deposed, he was also expelled and exiled from the Ziwei Star. Even so, Jiang Wu miraculously returned and became a peerless empress. She swept through many quasi-emperors in Ziwei Star and suppressed and killed many quasi-emperors, including Lin Feng. I don't know if Jiang Wu succeeded in attaining enlightenment later. With her talent, there should be no problem. If it hadn't been for the big change 100 years later, why would she have waited until my time to become enlightened? After returning from rebirth this time, I want to become stronger as soon as possible. I should be able to step into the quasi-emperor in 100 years. I will help you when the time comes. That thing was Jiang Wu's long-cherished wish in her life. If I can help her, she will be extremely grateful, and there is great hope for me to become a Taoist partner. Lin Feng is even looking forward to the arrival of 100 years from now. He is very confident. In less than 20 years, the Great Age will come. He is familiar with all the opportunities in the next 5,000 years, and will definitely be able to seize the opportunity and quickly enter the realm of Quasi-Emperor. In his era, there was no Quasi-Emperor who did not fall in love with Jiang Wu. Only those who have seen her with their own eyes know how charming Jiang Wu is. Even Lin Feng clearly remembers that when she walked onto the when invincible proved her path, there were too many quasi-emperors who were willing to die for her. And he was one of them. But God was not kind to him and actually allowed him to be reborn and return to his youth. In this life, he was reborn and returned to quasi-emperor. The practice of emperor's memory has naturally progressed by leaps and bounds, reaching the extreme. Before he was even 100 years old, he had transcended several great realms of king, power, and god, and became a giant. He even used special means to change his age appearance. Even Tiantong Holy Land has not included him in the list of geniuses. Otherwise, with his current level of strength, he must have been ranked first on the list of geniuses. But now many people just regard him as an ordinary monster. It can be said to be extremely low-key. I still have to be cautious and keep a low profile now. After all, I am just a giant. Before the great world comes, I must at least cultivate to the quasi-sage level to be qualified to compete for opportunities in the great world. Although there was a small accident, it was not important. Only the holy sun of fluctuating light needs to be studied. If I remember correctly, I vaguely remember that Lan Di and others said that Jiang Wu had a very doting nephew in the past, but he died too early. The great changes that occurred 100 years later seem to be inseparable from Yao Guang's early death. Not only is he not dead now, he has also become a peerless genius. It should be because of the changes caused by my rebirth and Jiang Wu's favor. It is not surprising that he will grow up. In this case, if possible, if you give this little guy some opportunities, it may not be able to increase Jiang Wu's favor for me. Lin Feng did not pay attention to all the geniuses on the genius list at all. In the eyes of those who have seen the true geniuses of later generations, there are only a few people such as Fang Lai, Yulan and Shao Qing who are equally evil in later generations, worthy of his attention. The other geniuses are just young guys. He began to call some disciples to collect information about Holy Son of Light for him. The list of geniuses was released, and there were reborn people paying attention to him, but Yang Hao didn't know it at all. Time is up. Yang Hao was in the ancient battlefield at the moment. He felt that his spatial mark began to slowly disappear, which meant that it had been 3 years since he entered the ancient battlefield and he could leave. For a practitioner, 3 years can be said to pass in the blink of an eye. What's more, they are still constantly fighting, visualizing, and harvesting opportunities. Even some practitioners may not leave for 3 or even 30 years after entering the ancient battlefield. These days, he is studying the legacy of the Eternal Emperor. While he was fighting with the soul of the great emperor in the Wuya Tower, he sharpened his combat experience. Although he felt that time passed very quickly, after all, there were still too many unexpected factors that affected his practice in the ancient battlefield. At this moment, sensing the disappearance of the space mark, Yang Hao stepped directly through the ancient battlefield and found an exit at random to fly out. It is still the rich aura of Ziwei Daxing. Yang Hao walked out of the ancient battlefield and felt the familiar and rich aura enveloped. He couldn't help but sigh. He was quite lucky. After leaving the ancient battlefield, he just determined his position and found that he was not far away from the Holy Land of Eternal Life, which is only a few 100 million miles away. It's time to get a flying boat. A journey of hundreds of millions of miles is not too far for a heaven-defying prince, but it is also very boring. Yan Hao made up his mind to return to the Holy Land this time and choose a flying boat from the Holy Land. Soon Yan Hao returned to the Holy Land. Along the way, many Holy Land disciples looked at Yan Hao with great respect. After hearing the trivial conversation, Yan Hao gradually understood that he was on the list of geniuses. But Yan Hao did not. Don't worry, with his current strength, it would be strange if he can't be on the list of geniuses. However, the news about Tiantong Holy Land is really well informed, and I don't know how it was collected. After finding a place close to the Dangxian Pavilion to release the Yaoguang Immortal Peak, Yan Hao looked for a list of geniuses. He found that there was no name of Saint Sun Donghua on the list of geniuses that had just been released. This is naturally not because Holy Sun Donghua changed his name and entered the genius list after achieving great power. This information will be marked. In addition, Holy Sun Donghua did not return to the Holy Land of Creation because he broke through the great power in the ancient battlefield, so he is still in the position of the Holy Sun. The reason why Yan Hao sighed was because he checked the date of the release of the Tianjiao list. Not long after the fall of the Holy Sun Donghua, the Tianjiao list was released, which is enough to see its information accuracy. Because of this, Yan Hao roughly wrote down some of the names on the Tianjiao list. 18? It's growing quite quickly. Yan Hao naturally noticed that Xiao Qing'er, his former fiancée, appeared at the 18th position on the list of geniuses. Once traces are revealed, she will be suppressed and transformed. By then, there will be no living fossils behind her, and there is no need to worry about various accidents when killing the protagonist. Yan Hao already had a plan to deal with Xiao Qing'er. After transforming Saint Yulan, he felt the benefits of transforming. Although if he wanted to transform, he needed to seriously injure the person being transformed first. But originally Yan Hao, when dealing with the protagonist, anyone who has a murderous intention will be killed directly. Naturally, he will be seriously injured. In this case, it is better to transform directly. Not only can it greatly reduce the risk of the protagonist's counterattack, moreover, through transformation, he can indirectly plunder all the opportunities of the protagonist, and gain them in one fell swoop. After summing up, Yan Hao found that compared to killing the protagonist, transformation seems to be more effective. Of course, Yan Hao will not die. He spent a lot of time trying to convert the protagonist. If a special situation like Dong Bo's Holy Sun arises, Yan Hao will naturally kill him without hesitation. In short, eliminating the protagonist's threat to himself is the most important thing for Yan Hao. The fundamental purpose. All unscrupulous means are used to achieve this purpose. My aunt is actually in seclusion. After learning a little about what happened to him in the ancient battlefield, Yan Hao naturally went to Wenxian Pavilion to find the Holy Master. Firstly, Yan Hao remembered that there was also a chief holy canon that could benefit. Secondly, Yan Hao entering the ancient battlefield this time, I also encountered some practice problems and needed to consult the Holy Lord. In addition, Yan Hao also wanted to ask about the ancient corpse that walked out of the ancient battlefield from the Hades Palace. It's a pity that the Holy Lord also needs practice. During the days when Yan Hao was away, in addition to dealing with some matters in the Holy Land, the Holy Master was also in retreat. Let's wait until my aunt comes out of seclusion. Now that Saint Yulan's serious concern has been solved, and the fiancé has not yet shown any trace, Yan Hao is not in a hurry and simply returns to Yaoguang Immortal Peak and starts practicing. It is really a joy to practice freely without the annoying interference of the ancient battlefield. 3 days later, Yan Hao felt happy. After he returned, he understood the ancient runes, felt something in his heart, and made rapid progress. On this day, he directly broke through again, from the 7th level of the formation realm to the 8th level. It's not far from the 9th level. Once I reach the 9th level, I can try to condense the formation eyes, form the prototype of the killing formation, and break through to the formation realm. Yan Hao was in a very happy mood, but at this time, one of his disciples came to report to Yang Haodong. Holy Son, there is a king named Lu Yan outside the Holy Land who came to visit you. She said that she has met you and invited the Holy Son. As soon as I saw him, Yang Hao was a little surprised when he heard this. Lu Yan? Several pictures flashed before his eyes. Some clever old good people, cautious kings, those who dared to ambush and kill the king who defied heaven and pretended to be dead. The image of this woman left to him, very contradictory. I thought she had fallen into the hands of Donghua Holy Son. Unexpectedly, not only did she not fall, but she even reappeared alive and well, and even came to visit her. Somewhat interesting. Bring her. Yang Hao is a little curious about the purpose of this woman with many secrets looking for him. Yang Hao soon met the King Lu Yan again. What caught his eye was still his extremely hot figure. But Lu Yan's face was extremely pale and his breath was unstable. Although he is still in the realm of a king, he is already shaky and in danger of falling at any time. Seriously injured. And the time is not short. Yang Hao just took one look and made an instant judgment. If what he expected was right, it should be the sequelae of Hades' palace 2 years ago. Greetings, the mighty one. Lu Yan saw Yang Hao again. After hesitating for a moment, he directly called Yang Hao a great leader. I said it before, I'm just a prince. What's the matter with you coming to look for me? Yang Hao chuckled lightly and asked Lu Yan. Lu Yan smiled bitterly upon hearing this. According to the information she bought, no matter from any aspect, the Holy Son of the Eternal Holy Land in front of him does not look like a powerful person. I have a message for you, Lu Yan respectfully said to Yang Hao. Oh? Yang Hao glanced at Lu Yan in a funny way and said to her, What's the news? What do you want? The relationship between the two people is just a one-time relationship. Yang Hao does not believe that Lu Yan will seek him out for no reason. If there is a response, there must be something to ask for. Indeed, we seek help from the Sun. Seeing that Yang Hao didn't like calling him a powerful person, Lu Yan said softly, But whether the Holy Sun agrees or not, this news will be sent to the Holy Sun. Then you say it. When Yang Hao heard this, he looked at Lu Yan with a half-smile. Judging from previous contacts, this woman is very measured. This is her intelligence, and the reason why Yang Hao is willing to listen. Recently, a living fossil broke through and became a sage. Seeing Yang Hao's response, Lu Yan said slowly as the mountains on his chest rose and fell. Oh? Yang Hao narrowed his eyes. The great age is approaching, and signs are already showing at this moment. More and more practitioners are beginning to break through. Those as weak as the Qi and Blood realm, as powerful as such a living fossil, are all fighting for it, as if they are in the dark. Already preparing for the coming of the great age. Lu Yan would naturally not mention a living fossil without any reason, so he listened carefully and waited for the next chapter. As far as I know, His Royal Highness the Holy Sun should have had a fiancé. Then Yang Hao heard Lu Yan's cautious voice. Have. Yang Hao was speechless. The whole world seemed to know that he once had a fiancé. Even kings like Lu Yan knew it. But if you think about it carefully, it's not surprising. Now he and Shao Qing'e have embarked on the journey of Tianjiao at the same time. List, if anyone is willing to understand and investigate carefully. It is not a secret, and it can naturally be found. This sage's name is Lan Xing. He is your fiancé's master. I heard that you have become the chief holy son of the Eternal Holy Land. If the chief holy ceremony is held, as one of the few saints in the world, this saint will definitely come to watch the ceremony. When the time comes, your fiancé will most likely follow. As far as I know, your fiancé is extremely hostile to you. Holy Son, you need to be careful about what happens in the Holy Scriptures. Lu Yan looked at Yang Hao with a pale face and said slowly, telling her everything she knew. When she checked for information before, when she learned about the grudge between Yaoguang Holy Son and Shao Qing'e, she was a little confused. Shocked. Judging from her contact with Holy Son of Yaoguang, although Holy Son of Yaoguang is decisive in killing, he is also a personable person. How could he do such a thing to humiliate his fiancée? In her mind, there must be something wrong with this. It's so strange that it's not worth trusting. Was Shao Qing'er come to watch the ceremony? Very good. When Yang Hao heard this, he chuckled. He was really happy. He didn't expect to see Shao Qing'er so soon. As for a sage accompanying him? Ordinary practitioners like Lu Yen don't understand and think that there is only one sage in the world. Several saints are extremely rare, which is understandable. But as a holy son of the Holy Land, he knows too many secrets. In the Holy Land of eternal life alone, there are countless old monsters hidden in it. If Lu Yen knew that he had planned to kill someone in his life, the ancient sage might scare Lu Yen. As long as the news is useful to the son. Seeing Yang Hao's happy reaction, Lu Yen breathed a sigh of relief. As she expected, there was something inside. It was not in vain that she spent a lot of money to buy a large amount of information from Tiantong Holy Land. I accepted the message, what do you want? Yang Hao looked at Lu Yen. In his opinion, Lu Yen most likely wanted to find him a fairy medicine to treat his injuries. Lu Yen has an unrequited request, hoping to become a follower of the sun. Lu Yen heard the words, and after a moment of silence, he said slowly, Do you want to be my follower? Yang Hao was a little surprised. This was the first person who actively wanted to become his follower after he sees the Holy Sun of Light. You are not qualified. However, Yang Hao just thought about it for a moment, and refused without hesitation. He was very direct and decisive. The reason was very simple. He was not qualified. With his current strength and status, Lu Yen is indeed good in both strength and potential. A little worse. A practitioner whose maximum strength reaches the Supreme King does not mean much to him. If he wants, the monsters who want to be his followers can line up from the Yaoguang Immortal Peak to the door of the Holy Land. Even if Yang Hao is a little curious about Lu Yen, but this is a matter of principle. I have this qualification. What Yang Hao didn't expect was that after being rejected decisively by him, Lu Yen said hesitantly, Oh? Yang Hao looked at Lu Yen, but he didn't expect that the other party would respond like this. I am a half-step god. The incomplete nirvana body. Lu Yen saw Yang Hao and immediately said decisively, Are you the incomplete body of nirvana? Yang Hao raised his brows. He didn't expect that he would hear the words, divine body. You know, one of the most important foundations for him to reach this point is his divine body. So far, he has never been able to get to this point again. He had encountered a divine body. Unexpectedly, he heard the word divine body from a king who was not outstanding, which made him feel a little magical. Because he was a divine body, Yang Hao also carefully understood the divine bodies that had appeared in history. He knows a little bit about the Nirvana divine body. The biggest characteristic of the Nirvana divine body is its resurrection from the dead. After each death, it becomes stronger. In the history of the human race, only one being with the Nirvana divine body was born. In the end, the great emperor of existence and enlightenment was called the Nirvana Emperor. However, when Yang Hao thought about it carefully, it seemed that Lu Yen had indeed faked death once before in the side hall of the Underworld Palace. With the strength of Dongguo Saint's son, if he wanted to, it is not easy to deceive someone by pretending to die under his eyes. At that time, Yang Hao still thought it was a little strange. If it was the Nirvana divine body, it would be understandable. Yes. My sister was born with the divine body of Nirvana. It's just that my father offended the holy son of Dongbo and was beheaded by him. Later, I achieved great power and went to take revenge, but was also beheaded. My sister, she wanted to save me, but for some reason she sucked my soul into her body. Then my sister's body became mutilated because of the entry of my soul. Lu Yen spoke with great sincerity, and told Yang Hao her experience. After listening to Lu Yan's story, Yang Hao shook his head slightly and sighed. The father of Lu Yan and Lu Yan's sister is just an ordinary practitioner, and his strength is only that of an ordinary king. However, because of a transaction, he offended the holy son of Dongbo and was killed by his men on the spot. He finally understood why Lu Yan ambushed and killed the holy son Dongbo that day. She finally understood why Lu Yan gave her a very contradictory feeling. There are actually two sister souls in Lu Yan's body. He felt a little emotional that Lu Yan's innocent and good-natured side should be his true soul. The person communicating with him now, who knows how to measure things, is his sister's soul. But what left Yang Hao speechless was, she had a divine body and would be treated as a treasure in any holy place she went to. How could Xingzi Dongbu dare to provoke her? But obviously, Lu Yan, who was born as an ordinary practitioner, must have too many ideas, all kinds of worries, and too low a vision to realize his own value, which led to such an embarrassing situation. Then why do you want to be my follower? Yan Hao asked again. Even if it is an incomplete nirvana divine body, it is still a divine body. As time goes by and the great age comes, it is only a matter of time to rise. Why should you succumb to others and be driven by others? Because we are dying. Lu Yan was silent again and said with some sadness. After hearing this, Yan Hao looked deeply at Lu Yan in front of him, waiting for the next step. The previous attack on Dong Bo's holy son failed, but his luck was so bad that he killed him again. Once my incomplete nirvana body dies twice in a row within 10 years, it will be severely damaged. After that resurrection, not only was his body severely damaged, but his sister's soul also fell into a deep sleep. The power of the soul is constantly drying up. Once it is completely exhausted, there will only be death. The only way is to inject external soul power to awaken the sister's soul and create a balanced state again, so that there is a glimmer of hope. The soul has reached the level of a saint, and even becoming a saint requires a huge price. The souls of my sister and I are deeply entangled. Don't talk about saints, even saints can't do anything. The only simple and effective way, that is to directly find a master and sign a soul covenant.